Chapter 517. Third sister, don't cause trouble. The man who was with her scolded. Second brother, don't stop me. The woman looked at Sima Yue and said, if you open up a rare spirit stone that is worth more than 20,000 middle-grade crystals, I, Hu Fei Fei, will give you double the price. If you can't open it, just give me 100,000 mid-grade crystal stones. All right. Sima Yue nodded. Both of them had reached an agreement. Third sister, how could you let him? Hu Ling wanted to stop her, but his sister was stubborn and would not even listen to him. However, he could not let her do as she pleased. Second brother, he didn't even refuse. What are you so anxious about? Hu Fangfang said with a smile. Since we've agreed, let's begin. When gambling on stones, there would be some gambling. This was very common, so no one was surprised. They just watched with interest, wanting to see who would win in the end. Young master, how do you want to open it? The master asked. Let's cut it from the middle. Sima Yue said. This, young master, are you sure? The stone-cutting master asked. Normally, stones were cut bit by bit from one side, because most of the spirit stones were slightly slanted in the middle. If it was cut open from the middle, the spirit stones inside would be easily damaged. Once the spirit stone was damaged, the spirit energy contained within would leak out from the cut. It had to be used as soon as possible, as it could not be stored for long. The value of these spirit stones would drop by a lot. It was rare to see someone like her, who requested to be cut directly from the middle. She said to open it from the middle, so we'll open it from the middle. Hu Fangfang smiled and said, anyway, this is a watermelon stone. It doesn't matter even if it's cut from the middle. The stone cutter felt that it was reasonable, so he followed Sima Yue's instructions and cut the stone in half. The stones on both sides fell to the ground, revealing the white Huahua stones. It really is a white stone. The onlookers were not surprised at all when they saw the white stone. When Hu Fangfang saw the white stone, she smiled proudly, making Fatty Chu and the others angry. What's the rush? Can't you see that the two of them are very calm? Wu Lingyu said lightly when he saw how angry they were. If Sima Yue was inexperienced in stone gambling for the first time, then Third Mo did not say anything from the beginning to the end. This meant that there was nothing wrong with the stone. How do you want to spin the next cut? The stone-cutting master picked up half of them and asked. Let me see. Sima Yue took the stone and looked at it. Then, she drew on it and said, follow this. All right. The stone cutter took it back and made another cut according to Sima Yue's instructions. When the stone was split in half, it was still a white stone. This is for polishing. Sima Yue picked up one of the pieces and said, there were different ways to open a stone, such as cutting, grinding, and so on. Generally, one would use the cutting method at the beginning. When one felt that a spirit stone would appear, one would choose the grinding method and slowly grind the surface of the stone. Not long after, a few peanut-sized spirit stones were ground out. They are indeed watermelon seeds. The onlookers said, how are these watermelon seeds? These are better than watermelon seeds. These are peanuts. Hu Fangfang said with a smile. Third sister. Hu Ling frowned and looked like he was about to get angry. Hu Fangfang stuck out her tongue and did not say anything. However, her gaze towards Sima Yue was filled with provocation. Sima Yue kept the few emerald green peanuts. Then, she gave the other half to the stone cutter and said, grind this too. Ha ha ha. Are you trying to gather 20,000 spirit stones? Someone laughed and said. Sima Yue could not be bothered with them. After giving the other half to the stone cutter, she picked up the other half and examined it carefully. Let me open it for you. Third Mo walked over and said. All right. Sima Yue knew that Third Mo was not someone who spoke easily. Since he spoke, it meant that it was either difficult to open, or the thing inside had piqued his interest. Third Mo picked up the stone and placed it on the table. Then, he took out a small knife and used his hand to touch it. Then, he used the small knife to trace a pattern and gently cut off the surface of the stone. When everyone saw this, they realized that he was skilled. The surface of the stone was smooth as if it was cut off. It did not look like it was cut off with a small knife at all. Unknowingly, everyone's attention turned to him. Even the stone cutter stopped what he was doing and looked at Third Mo. Third Mo peeled off the outer layer of the stone. Soon, a stone the size of an adult's fist turned into a stone the size of a duck's egg. Third Mo glanced at Sima Yue. Sima Yue understood what he meant. She said excitedly, "It's coming out?" Third Mo nodded. He took out a piece of skin used for grinding and began to lightly grind the remaining surface of the stone. He used even strength on every part. Under his grinding, a spirit stone the size of an egg appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Third Mo took out a piece of cloth and gently wiped off the lime on the stone so that everyone could see the spirit stone more clearly. "Look, there's actually a golden core inside," someone exclaimed. "This is a stone in a stone. It really is a stone in a stone. The thing inside is golden and is the size of an egg. This grade is not low. A stone in a stone the size of a lychee is worth a few 100,000. This one is the size of an egg and has a golden core. This is worth at least 300,000 to 400,000. Hiss! Everyone present could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. They did not expect this thing to be so valuable. "Yue, take it." Third Mo placed the spirit stone in Sima Yue's hand. He was very happy that he was able to cut out such a spirit stone. Sima Yue received the spirit stone happily and even waved it at Hu Fangfang. "I'm really sorry. I won the bet this time. In a while I'll get someone to appraise it for me. Thank you, Miss Hu, for your generous bet. Master, help me grind out the rest of the spirit stone. Who knows, there might be a few more watermelon seeds. No, there are peanuts." Hu Fangfang's face turned green with anger. Sima Yue was slapping her own face. However, in front of everyone, she could not do anything shameless. Very quickly, the rest of the spirit stones were all grinded out. There were a total of 5 watermelon seeds. Added together, they were worth about 1,000 middle-grade spirit stones. The stone pavilion had a professional appraiser who could accurately estimate the value of the spirit stones. Not long later, an old man with an immortal aura walked out from the back courtyard. He specially came to appraise Sima Yue. Such a large stone in a stone is indeed rare. Moreover, the quality is high. This old man felt a majestic power from the golden core. "From my experience, this stone in a stone in a stone is worth at least 350,000 middle-grade spirit stones. 350,000. Twice that would be 700,000. Hu Fangfang's heart ached when she thought of how she had lost 700,000 in one go. "Wait a minute, there are still these. Please appraise them together. At least we can gather some money." Sima Yue opened her hand. There were more than 10 spirit stones the size of watermelon seeds in her hand. When everyone saw that she really used the watermelon seeds to appraise them, they could not help but laugh. Chapter 518. Just now, they had said that she could only collect those watermelon seed-like spirit stones to make up the numbers. Unexpectedly, she really didn't do that now. The appraiser's beard trembled. There were already hundreds of thousands of stones, yet he was still looking at a few watermelon seeds? However, since the customer had requested it, he still took a closer look and said, "These spirit stones are too small, but the quality is not bad. The spiritual energy contained within is also not bad. If you add them up, they should be worth 2,000 mid-grade crystal stones." It was worth 2,000 mid-grade crystal stones, which was a far cry from the original price of 18,000. If he didn't get this stone, then he would have lost the bet. "Sorry to trouble you, master." Sima Yue put away the watermelon seeds and spirit stones, then said to Hu Fangfang, "Miss Hu, when you give, don't forget the 2,000 watermelon seeds. No, you should give an extra 4,000. Hu Fangfang's face darkened. She angrily turned her face to the side. Hu Ling sighed when he saw the way his sister was behaving. He took out 2 crystal cards and placed them against each other before handing one of them to Sima Yue, saying, "This is 704,000. Please keep it well." Sima Yue kept the crystal card without hesitation. She had earned it herself. At the same time, she began to size up the siblings. They didn't even blink when they took out 700,000 mid-grade crystal stones. It was obvious that they were not ordinary people. They must have a great background. She didn't know how strong their forces were, but their financial resources were definitely not ordinary. "Third sister, let's go back." If Big Brother doesn't see you when he comes later, he'll probably get angry, Hu Ling said. Wu Fangfang originally wanted to play for a while more, but when she heard the word Big Brother, she couldn't help but shrink her neck. If he knew that he had lost $700,000 in a bet with someone else, he would probably teach him a lesson. Only his second brother would protect him. Then let's go. She took her brother's arm and walked out with him. Seeing that they had left, the onlookers also dispersed. Fatty Chu and the others gathered around, wanting to see the stone in the stone. Sir, we would like to purchase this stone from you for 380,000 spirit stones, a man said as he walked over. Young master, don't listen to him. We'll pay 390,000. Young master, we bid 410,000. Sima Yue felt a little dizzy as she looked at the merchants surrounding her and listened to their chatter about selling things to her. 450,000 yuan. Give it to anyone who is willing to buy it. Sima Yue shouted when she saw that they stopped increasing the price after 420,000 yuan. They were silent for a while and felt that 450,000 was a bit expensive. It was 100,000 more than the estimated price. However, this stone was quite rare. In the end, some people gritted their teeth and purchased it. Sima Yue sold the stone and earned another 450,000 yuan. Together with the 700,000 yuan she won from the bet, she earned a total of 15 million yuan. On the other hand, she only spent 18,000 yuan to buy this. One could imagine how much profit she made. When Fatty Chu and the others saw that Sima Yue had opened a good stone, they also wanted to give it a try. Each of them went to choose 2 stones and spent a little more than 1 million. They didn't know how to choose a stone at all. They just chose based on their feelings. Some people got it, some got white stones. However, in the end, they managed to recoup their capital and even earned 100,000 middle-grade crystals. Their luck was quite good. Yue, how did you choose that watermelon stone? Qin Mo asked curiously. I actually just relied on my feelings, Sima Yue said. Although I saw the outer appearance and knew that there were watermelon seeds inside, the outer layer of the stone on the other side was slightly smoother. That's why I boldly guessed that there might be something inside. What she didn't say was that if it wasn't for her divine sense being stronger than normal people, she wouldn't have been able to sense that slight difference. Not bad. You got such a good harvest in your first stone gambling. You're much better than me. Third Mo said. I earned 1 million yuan, but it's still not enough. Let's continue to choose. Sima Yue said. After that, she chose a few for herself, and Third Mo helped her choose 2. They all had high-grade spirit stones in them. This made Sima Yue earn a lot. She got 10 million middle-grade crystals in her hands. Seeing Sima Yue smiling so happily, the people in the stone pavilion felt their hearts ache. Were they sure they weren't here to cause trouble? When Sima Yue and the others were opening the stones, the girl who paid the bill looked towards the corner of the courtyard. Then, she heard that there was another good stone. Her heart twitched again. The spirit stones that Sima Yue opened were sold for 500,000 middle-grade crystals. Seeing someone take out 500,000 without even blinking, she thought of the 10 million she earned before. She couldn't help but sigh. So there were more rich people in this world. She was in the poor class. However, after choosing stones again and again, her theory and practice quickly merged. Her accuracy in choosing stones was very high. Even Third Mo couldn't help but look at her in a new light. Just as Sima Yue chose another stone and was about to pay the bill, a handsome man wearing a water blue gown walked out from behind. Young master. The attendants in the stone pavilion bowed to the man. The man waved his hand, and the attendants stood up. Young master, it's them. The attendants beside the man pointed at Sima Yue and the others. I was wondering who had the ability to scare my people like this. So it's Third Master Mo. The man cupped his hands towards Third Mo. Wu Lingyu and Qin Mo were talking with their backs to the crowd. When they heard someone mention Third Mo, the two turned around. When they saw who it was, they raised their eyebrows. There's also Your Highness Holy Son and young Master Qin. I apologize for my lack of manners. The blue-clothed man saw that it was Wu Lingyu and Qin Mo. He was shocked. Why were there so many important people here today? The others were stunned. They weren't familiar with Qin Mo, but Third Mo's name and Wu Lingyu's identity were well known. They weren't ordinary people. Liang Yu, why are you here? Third Mo didn't mind being recognized, but he was surprised to see him here. The Stone Pavilion was a shop opened by a power in the central region. Liang Yu could be considered as the person in charge of the Stone Pavilion. They had met before in the central region and could be considered acquaintances. Isn't there going to be an auction? That's why the clan sent me here to watch. Liang Yu said. Third Mo, why don't you choose the stones inside? How can the stones here catch your eye? I'm not choosing the stones this time. I'm here to accompany a friend. Third Mo looked at Sima Yue and said. Liang Yu looked at Sima Yue. How could a young man like him catch Third Mo's eye? Yue, look at you. You even alarmed the young master of the Stone Pavilion. Qin Mo teased. Yue. Liang Yu took a deep breath. Could it be that Yue from the destroyed Shiman clan? Chapter 519. Sima Yue had seen Liang Yu before. Seeing the shock on his face, she smiled and cupped her hands, saying, I am Sima Yue. Greetings to young Master Liang. New Dagger Mystery Chinese Novel, Sima Yue. Liang Yu looked at Sima Yue's calm smile, and then looked at her bone age. She was indeed a young person. He smiled and said, I didn't expect Third Master Mo to have such a young friend. It's Yue's first time gambling on stones. I found it interesting. I didn't expect to disturb young Master Liang. I'm really sorry. Sima Yue said politely. Of course not. This is how business is done. Liang Yu said. It's just that sometimes there will be people who come to challenge us. That's why the employees make such a big fuss. I apologize for disturbing Third Master Mo and everyone else. Young Master Liang, you're too polite. Third Mo and the others didn't know what to say to him. She was of a lower status, so she wouldn't lose face if she said that. Shameless Third, we've played enough for today. Why don't we go back? Your Highness, Third Master Mo, young Master Qin. Since you're all here, why don't I be the host and treat you to a drink? Liang Yu said. Wu Lingyu and the other two all looked at Sima Yue. Sima Yue did not have a good impression of this Liang Yu. Seeing that Sima Lai and the others were all looking at her, she smiled and walked over saying, Grandfather, third brother, are you guys done playing? I've already played to my heart's content. Sima Lai said. Then we'll head back first. Sima Yue said. Senior brother, if you're going to drink, we'll head back first. Senior brother, is young Master Sima from the Sage Pavilion? Liang Yu asked. No. Sima Yue smiled. Senior brother, we'll head back first. We still have to prepare for the auction tomorrow, so we won't be drinking, Wu Lingyu said. I also need to prepare. I have something that I want, I must bid for it. Third Mo said. Liang Yu, let's drink next time. Goodbye. Sima Yue and the others also cupped their fists at Liang Yu before exiting the Stone Pavilion. When Liang Yu saw them leave, the smile on his face disappeared. He waved his hand, and a guard walked over. Send someone to investigate that person's identity. He actually has 3 people accompanying him. And they are even Wu Lingyu's junior brothers. How come I didn't know that Wu Lingyu had a junior brother? Yes. That person immediately left. The servant beside Liang Yu came forward and said, Young master, I once heard that the Demon Valley Lord of the Divine Devil Valley had accepted a disciple in the Yilin continent. Could it be this person? Divine Devil Valley. Liang Yu furrowed his brows. I think there is such a person. He said that he is the other junior valley master of the Divine Devil Valley. Young master, I remember now. That person seems to be called Sima Yue. He came from the Yilin continent. Another servant said. I really didn't think that the Divine Devil Valley would actually let someone from the lower realm become the junior valley master. Liang Yu laughed coldly. I really don't understand what the pavilion master is thinking. He actually let someone from the Divine Devil Valley become our holy son. So this stone pavilion was also a power that belonged to the Sage Pavilion. Nobody understands the pavilion master's intentions. The Divine Devil Valley and the Sage Pavilion have always been enemies, but he personally asked for Wu Lingyu to become the Holy Son. He even dotes on him and wants him to take over the Sage Pavilion. Let's see how long he can stay in this position. Liang Yu said. Send someone to keep a close eye on their whereabouts. Yes, young master. Sima Yue and the others came out of the stone pavilion. Thinking of the haze in Liang Yu's eyes, Third Emo was very happy and said, if I knew that Liang Yu was here, I would have brought you to the innermost part and opened up some top-grade spirit stones to anger him to death. It's just that if he finds out about Yu Yue's identity, will it bring trouble? Qin Emo frowned. What's there to be afraid of? Wu Lingyu wasn't worried at all. The junior valley master of the Divine Devil Valley will have to give way to anyone outside. Sima Yue nodded and said, he knows the old Yue and knows that I used to be on good terms with you guys. I'm afraid that he will link it to me, so it's better to let him know about my identity. Moreover, even if I don't say it, I'm afraid that he will investigate. That Liang Yu looks like the Liang clan's young master, but he's actually a person without much ability. He just caught the eye of the Liang clan's patriarch. You don't have to worry about him. Third Emo said. Sima Yue nodded and smiled. I earn 10 million in a day. Just thinking about it makes me happy. I can feel it. You're smiling so much that your eyes are almost squinting. Wu Lingyu looked at her and couldn't help but smile. Sima Yue didn't care that he was teasing her. She was extremely happy. She was even more interested in stone gambling. She was prepared to gamble for fun when she ran out of money in the future and earn some money to spend. Her beasts were all looking down on her in the spirit pagoda. When she first started refining pills, she thought that she could sell pills when she ran out of money. Later on, she had the same thought when she practiced arrays. Now that she came into contact with stone gambling, it was still the same. Why was their master so poor? But she didn't care about those looks of disdain. She was still thinking that stone gambling was a profitable business. She had to go back and study that spirit seeker and find the source properly. She had only learned some superficial knowledge, but she could already see the beginner's stone. If she could completely master that book, she might really become a spirit seeker emperor teacher. Thinking about this, she looked at Third Emo again. She was conflicted whether she should let him see that book or not. Thinking about how he actually gave up the wine that he loved for hundreds of years for her, and thinking about his feelings for her, she finally decided to give him a copy of the book. After she thought about it, she went back to the spirit pagoda. She rummaged through the cabinets and found a stone rubbing. She took out the book and placed it on the table. Then, as she read, she inserted a strand of divine sense into the stone rubbing. This stone rubbing was a type of jade that could record divine sense. The divine sense wouldn't dissipate after leaving the body for too long. She placed the stone rubbing on her forehead and flipped through the book page by page. There were some things that she still couldn't understand, but if she read it once and memorized it, Third Emo might understand the meaning when he saw it. After staying in the spirit pagoda for 3 days, she finally recorded a complete spirit seeker and find the source. Because she used up a lot of divine sense, she was a little tired after she finished. She ate some pills and rested for a while. Then she took the things out. She knocked on Third Emo's door. Third Emo was a little surprised that she came alone. He thought that she was discussing the auction with Shiman Feng and the others. Sima Yue went in and asked him to close the door. She smiled and took out a stone rubbing and handed it to him. What are you giving me? Third Emo took it and looked. You'll know when you see it. Third Emo saw that she was being mysterious. He placed the stone rubbing on his forehead and looked at it. With just a glance, he froze and looked at her in shock. Chapter 520. How did you get this thing? Third Emo felt that this was the most shocking thing besides knowing that she was still alive. New Beach Chinese Network. I got it by chance, Sima Yue said. This is not the original. I spent a few days to copy it. Here you go. Give it to me? Third Emo was in disbelief. This was Soul Seeking the Source, a book that he had been searching for. Now it was right in front of him. Of course it's for you. Why else would I show it to you? Sima Yue smiled. She found it funny when she saw Third Emo's dumbfounded look. This was the first time in her previous life that she had seen him like this. However, when something that he had been looking for suddenly appeared in front of him, even if it was him, he would be so excited that he would lose his sense of direction. Since you know that I've been looking for this, I won't stand on ceremony with you. Third Emo took the rubbing and patted Sima Yue's shoulder excitedly. Don't mention it. Sima Yue said. You helped me so much and earned 10 million mid-grade crystals in a day. Take this as my gift to you. Third Emo looked at Sima Yue and was overjoyed. Sima Yue did not disturb him. She stood up and said, Since I've given you the things, I'll go back first. I know you want to see it, but you have to remember tomorrow's auction. Don't worry, I won't be late. Just call me when you're heading out. Third Emo said. All right. Once Sima Yue left, Third Emo immediately started studying the book. When she called him to attend the auction the next day, he was still immersed in it. The group of people walked towards the Xinyuan pavilion. Along the way, they noticed that many people were walking in the same direction. It seemed that they were all going to participate in the auction. Yue. On the way, Sima Yue heard someone calling her name. She turned around and saw Cho Xiaotian waving at her. There was a group of people beside him, and they didn't seem to be from the innumerable Green Palace. They should be from his sect in the central state. Cho Xiaotian said a few words to the people around him, and then squeezed through the crowd to Yue. He said, I knew you guys would definitely come to this auction. I really did see you guys. Of course we won't miss such a lively event. Sima Yue said, Have you settled Beigong's matters? Cho Xiaotian looked at Beigong Tang and asked. It's already been settled. Beigong Tang nodded at him. Senior brother, Master wants you to hurry over. A girl walked over and glanced at Sima Yue, and the rest arrogantly as she said to Cho Xiaotian. Cho Xiaotian smiled at Sima Yue and said, I'll look for you guys after the auction ends. Where do you live? Memory Restaurant. All right, I'll look for you when the time comes. Then I'll go over first. After Cho Xiaotian finished speaking, he cupped his fists towards them and left with the woman. Che, what's with the arrogance? Fatty Chu rolled his eyes at Cho Xiaotian's junior sister. He was very unhappy. All right, it's not like they have anything to do with us. Let's hurry over. Wei Ziqi said. There are too many people here. Many people don't have the qualifications to enter the auction, but they can listen to the news from outside. Wu Lingyu said. Are they trying to smell the meat even if they can't eat it? Ouyang Fei laughed. There are so many powers in the outer regions, and even some from the inner regions. I wonder how many people will participate this time. Sima Yue looked at the sea of people and felt a headache coming on. With so many people, there would be more people bidding, and the price of the items would naturally be higher than expected. Actually, there aren't as many people as you think. Wu Lingyu looked at her and frowned, saying, Those who can come this time are all first and second-rate powers in the outer regions. Also, not everyone is here. Really? After all, this is an outer region auction. There aren't many people from the inner regions. Some from the other regions feel that it's too far, and some feel that there isn't anything that can attract them, so they won't come. Chi Nemo said, So the number of people here isn't that special. Also there are many similar items, so we can split the bidding. I don't care about the rest, as long as no one fights with me for the items that I choose. Sima Yue said. The items that she chose this time were too rare. If she really couldn't get them, then she didn't mind having a treasure-snatching segment after the auction. However, what worried her the most was the 2 types of herbs that she was going to barter for. If she couldn't get something that satisfied the other party, it would be troublesome later on. Let's go in first. Third Emo said. He also had something to bid for this time, but after Sima Yue gave him the stone rubbing, he wasn't as excited about the ore. They arrived at the entrance of Xinyuan Pavilion and saw Qing Yuan from innumerable Green Palace bringing people in. After the servant girl at the entrance saw their invitation, she brought them in. We're already considered early, but there are still so many people. God knows how long we'll have to queue for. Fatty Chu said as he saw the long queue. We don't have to queue. Sima Yue said, Follow me. She brought them to a passage on the other side. There was almost no one here. Hello, please show us your invitation. The beautiful lady at the entrance smiled and said. Sima Yue took out the invitation that Junlan gave her. It was a different color from the ones that the others took out. The lady took the invitation and looked at it, then handed it back to her with both hands, saying, This is our VIP invitation. You can enter from our VIP passage. We have people who will bring you to your private room. Thank you. Sima Yue took the invitation. A servant girl walked over and brought them into the auction hall. They went to a private room on the 3rd floor. This private room was big enough that the 10 to 20 people didn't feel crowded at all. If you need anything, just pull on the rope by the wall. The servant girl said and left. This room was really big. There were 3 round tables inside, and it wasn't crowded. It was probably prepared for people like them. What she didn't know was that Jun Lan had specially ordered people to prepare this room for them. Although the other rooms were big, they didn't have so many tables and chairs. It was just that Jun Lan knew that there would be many people coming with her. So she had specially arranged for the room to be decorated. The glass here was the same as the glass in the Yilin continent. You could see outside clearly from the inside, but you couldn't see inside from the outside. They sat in the room and could see everything outside. The entire auction hall could hold tens of thousands of people. Just the main hall below could hold 30 to 40,000 people, not to mention the private rooms on the other floors. Sima Yue's private room wasn't the most special. This was also what she had requested. It wasn't too conspicuous. As time passed, those people entered the auction venue one after another, and the entire venue became lively. Sima Yue looked around. The private rooms on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors were all lit up. Chapter 521. Sima Yue and the rest came in early, with 3rd MO, Wu Lingyu and Kong Sengyi, who were all knowledgeable. They roughly knew which province and which sect those people were from. New Dagger Strange new address. What surprised Yue was the status of the Xian Yuan Pavilion in the primordial lands. Many powerful forces could only sit in the main hall, and they didn't seem to have any complaints. They waited for more than an hour before the doors to the auction venue closed. Those who were late were no longer eligible to enter. Following the sound of the door closing, an old man with white hair and beard appeared on the auction stage. Upon seeing that person, many gasps could be heard from the crowd. It was obvious that they were shocked by that old man. Sima Yue looked at the sagely old man and asked in surprise, "Who is it that caused such a huge reaction?" 3rd MO, and the others were also rather surprised. They only came back to their senses after hearing her words, saying, "That's the pavilion master of the Xian Yuan Pavilion's pavilion master Jun Song. His position is even higher than the pavilion masters of the central regions. He hasn't appeared in public for many years. I didn't expect that today's auction would be hosted by him." Chinemo nodded in agreement. It's indeed surprising. Sima Yue did not expect such a person to be the host of the auction today. Although the scale of the auction was relatively large, there was no need for him to come personally. She looked below the stage and saw that Jun Lan and Jun Tian were both there. There was also a steward from the Xian Yuan Pavilion. "I'm Jun Song. I'm sure everyone knows my old face, so I won't introduce myself." Jun Song smiled and said, "Welcome everyone to our auction this time. Everyone has seen the items this time. The quantity is great, and the quality is good. I'm sure everyone will return satisfied. Of course, this is only possible if you have enough crystals in your pocket. Ha ha ha." The people of the Xianyuan Pavilion were all here. "Pavilion Master, how could you say that?" Sima Yue looked at Jun Song. Why did she have the feeling that he was an old urchin? Was there such an opening? However, this was also the truth. Without money, they could forget about getting anything tonight. Ahem. Jun Song pretended to cough when he saw Jun Lan and the others glaring at him. He didn't care about their reactions and continued, "I don't like to nag. You all understand the rules. If you don't understand, ask those who do. Okay, that's it. Let's start the auction now." After saying that, he knocked the auction mallet, and a woman wearing an emerald green gauze dress came up with a tray, indicating that the auction had officially begun. Sima Yue was completely speechless at this old man. She guessed that Jun Lan and the rest did not want him to host this auction. Actually, it was just as she had thought. Jun Lan and the others were also very helpless towards this pavilion master who had suddenly appeared. Originally, they had already confirmed that this auction would be hosted by Jun Lan, but they didn't expect him to come here last night and say that he wanted to host this auction. His reason was that the scale of the auction this time was too large, and he was afraid that they would not be able to control it. With him around, no one would dare to act rashly. However, Junlon and the group of stewards couldn't help but roll their eyes in their hearts. How was he afraid that they would not be able to control it? He clearly wanted to play. That's right, he wanted to host this auction because he felt that it would be fun. He really didn't have any of the prestige of a pavilion master. The first auction item is an 8th grade pill, the yuan increasing pill. Taking this pill, those who are nearing the end of their lifespan will be able to increase by 30 years. Although 30 years is not a long time, and some people go into seclusion, but with this yuan increasing pill in hand, who knows, they might be able to break through in those 30 years. Wouldn't that mean that they would have an extra few hundred, or even a few thousand years? Okay, I won't say any more nonsense. Everyone knows the importance of this pill. Now the auction will begin. The starting price is 10,000 mid-grade crystal stones. Sima Yue didn't expect that the first auction item would be such a valuable item. Although 8th grade alchemists weren't rare on this continent, they were still very common. Refining this yuan increasing pill wasn't an easy task. Just the ingredients alone were very difficult to gather, not to mention the waste in the middle. And this auction didn't follow the order of the previous auctions. Taking out such a rare item at the beginning was considered breaking the previous rules. 11,000 mid-grade crystal stones. 12,000. 15,000. Sima Yue and the others didn't join in the bidding. They weren't nearing the end of their lifespan yet. Compared to the yuan increasing pill, she was more interested in gathering the ingredients to refine the breaking monarch pill. Moreover, her money was prepared for those few ingredients. She didn't plan to spend it on these things. When Sima Yue came back to her senses, Jun Song was already preparing to strike the auction mallet. 200,000 mid-grade crystal stones going once, 200,000 mid-grade crystal stones going twice. 210,000, 220,000. Sima Yue saw that the competition had started and couldn't help but sigh. The price had increased by more than 20 times. And looking at the attitude of those people, it seemed that 200,000 wasn't expensive at all. In the end, the yuan increasing pill was bought for 310,000, which was 30 times the starting price. Everyone knew that the yuan increasing pill wasn't worth that price. But because it was being auctioned, the price had been raised. And Sima Yue started to estimate the price of the items she wanted based on this situation. The first auction item was sent to the person who bought it. Then the second auction item was brought up. The second auction item is also an amazing item. In the past, we had an ancestor. Rumor has it that he broke through the emperor level and entered that legendary level. Does anyone know who he is? Jun Song kept the audience guessing. Emperor Qing Dao. Who in the primordial lands doesn't know him? Someone continued. Then do you know that he once used a divine weapon, the Heaven's Halberd? Jun Song said mysteriously. Pavilion Master Jun, are you saying that this auction item is Emperor Qing Dao's Heaven's Halberd? Someone guessed. Haha, you guessed right. This auction item is the Heaven's Halberd. Jun Song laughed and lifted the red cloth on the tray. He continued. This is the upper part of the Heaven's Halberd. Although it's a defective item, it's still a divine weapon that Emperor Qing Dao once used. Everyone knows that in the later stages of cultivation, the only thing that matters is comprehension. This is a divine weapon that Emperor Qing Dao once used. If you take it back, you might be able to comprehend something. The starting price is 20,000 mid-grade crystal stones. Continue bidding. When those people first heard that it was something that Emperor Qing Dao had once used, they were all so excited that they wanted to immediately start the auction. But when they heard that it was a defective item, they hesitated. So when Jun Song called out the starting price of 20,000, almost no one bid. Chapter 522. The Xianyuan Pavilion was surprised that no one came after the divine tool that Emperor Qing Dao had once used. Shouldn't this kind of thing be more sought after? Just as Jun Song had said, he might be able to comprehend something if he brought it back. However, everyone had different thoughts. Emperor Qing Dao rarely used the Heaven's Halberd after he became famous. Instead, he used a higher-level weapon. Therefore, The heaven's halberd was useless in everyone's eyes. It wasn't as meaningful as the weapons he used later on. What's more, this was a defective product that couldn't even be used. Even if he bought it, it could only be used as a decoration. If it was at the back, everyone would have already bid for what they wanted. If they still had money left, it wouldn't matter if they bid for it. But now it was too close to the front. Everyone was afraid that they wouldn't have enough money after bidding for it. 21,000. Sima Yue shouted when she saw that no one else was bidding. Under her lead, only a few people came to bid. However, those people were just shouting for fun. They didn't really want to buy it. So in the end, she won it for 100,000 mid-grade crystal stones. Soon, the heaven's halberd was delivered to her private room. She took out her crystal card and swiped 100,000 mid-grade crystals. After the maid left, she lifted the lid and looked at the divine weapon. There's only one head. Yue, why are you filming this? Fatty Chu looked at the rusty halberd head and asked puzzledly. Sima Yue picked up the halberd head and felt a cold sensation in her palm. The material was definitely not ordinary. Unfortunately, because she hadn't refined it, she didn't know what it looked like without rust. In any case, this is Monarch Qing Dao's divine artifact. It's good to study it when you have nothing to do. She didn't see anything different about this halberd head, so she placed it back on the tray for the others to see. What kind of person is that Emperor Qing Dao? A broken divine tool can actually be sold for the high price of 100,000 mid-grade crystal stones. Wei Ziki asked curiously. There are several levels above the God realm. We are now in the God realm, which is divided into 4 small levels: God King, God Ancestor, God Emperor, and God Venerable. Above the divine rank was the monarch rank. Above the monarch rank was the venerable rank, and above the venerable rank was the emperor rank. Emperor Qing Dao is an emperor-level expert. Sima Yue explained to everyone. Emperor level? Wei Ziki and the others sucked in a deep breath. Someone had actually reached the emperor level. Since ancient times, there weren't many people who were able to ascend to the emperor rank. Those were all famous. Kong Sengyi said. It's just that this Emperor Qing Dao is the most eye-catching. How did he attract attention? In the past, the monarchs were generally old antiques who were over 10,000 years old. However, for some unknown reason, Monarch Qing Dao's talent wasn't particularly outstanding in the past, but he advanced to the monarch level before he was 5,000 years old. Some said that he had taken some kind of elixir. Some said that he had received some kind of inheritance. And some said that he was originally very talented and was just hiding it when he was young. However, no matter how others guessed, he rarely appeared after advancing to the emperor level. Later on, he directly disappeared. Thus, there were rumors that he had reached the legendary level and left this world. Legendary level? Left this world? What's that? As our strength grows, our lifespan grows longer and longer. When we reach the emperor level, we can already live for 20,000 years or even longer. However, no matter how long we live, we can't avoid death. Third Emo looked at everyone and said, but when you reach the legendary level, you become a true god and can live forever. What? Live forever? Is that true or false? Seeing how surprised they were, Third Emo shrugged. Who knows if it's true or false? Didn't they already say that it's the legendary level? Naturally, no one has seen it before. So there's no way to tell if it's true or false. If this Emperor Qing Dao really reached the legendary level, then he's too powerful. Sima Yue said excitedly. His fanatical eyes were filled with worship. However, Sima Yue picked up the halberd head again. Since it's Emperor Qing Dao's weapon, why is it broken and only the halberd head is left? Oh right, he's already an emperor. Then he should be the most powerful person in this world. Who else can break his weapon? Fatty Chu said. Regarding this, Qin Mo and the others shook their heads. Nobody knew what exactly was going on. Legends are legends after all. As for the real situation, only legends will know. Wu Lingyu saw Sima Yue furrowing her eyebrows and nodded. Sima Yue retracted her thoughts and stopped thinking about what happened back then. Let's continue watching the auction. Although the items at the end of the auction were not bad, they didn't have what they needed. After more than an hour, they didn't bid for anything. After that, Sima Yue bid for the 4 types of ingredients that she needed. In total, she spent more than 1 million. After that, she bid for a few materials for Fatty Chu and the others, spending a few 100,000. In total, she spent more than 2 million. This was much less than what Sima Yue had expected. However, her main focus was on the last 3 types of ingredients. These 3 types were the main focus. 2 types of barter. One of them could be said to be the only one in the world. Furthermore, it was a medicinal ingredient that was useful for cultivation. The competition would definitely be intense. However, before those 3 types of medicinal ingredients appeared, her items were auctioned off first. The 4 tendon and marrow cleansing pills were sold for a total of 4 million. The other items were sold for 2 million. In total, she earned 6 million. In addition to what she had left, she had a total of 14 million. She didn't know if she could use 10 million to exchange for 3 types of medicinal ingredients. Everyone will definitely like the next item, especially the Seeker Spirit Masters. They will definitely go crazy with joy. Jun Song said with a smile. Although so much time had passed, and she had seen him host for so long, she still couldn't connect him with the pavilion master of the outer regions of Xian Yuan Pavilion. It was too degrading. However, thinking about it was just thinking. The item that was brought up this time was indeed a good item. Everyone present turned to look at it. This is the ancient ore that everyone has been waiting for. Since it is an ore, then everyone should understand that there is a risk. There may be treasures inside, or there may be nothing. Jun Song said very responsibly. But if there is something inside, then it must be something from the ancient times. I don't need to say anything more. Everyone should understand its value. In order to make it easier for everyone to bid, we have specially allowed the Seeker Spirit Masters to come up and watch. Everyone has half an hour. Those who are willing to come up and take a look, please come up. After Jun Song finished speaking, people immediately went up. Those Seeker Spirit Masters were extremely excited. They all surrounded the ore and looked left and right. Sima Yue looked at Third Mo, who was not moving at all, and asked, "Didn't you come for this? Why don't you go down and take a look?" Chapter 523. Third Mo smiled and said, "I've already seen that ore. There's no need to look at it again." "You've already read it? When did this happen? Wasn't it said that the Xianyuan Pavilion was very strict with the preservation of the auction items? How did this guy see it?" "It happened a few days ago," Third Mo said. As for the method, he definitely wouldn't tell anyone. "Since you've seen it, is there anything inside the stone?" Sima Yue asked curiously. "There is. Furthermore, I suspect that it's a living creature." Speaking of this, Third Mo's expression became serious. However, there was also unconcealable excitement. If it's a living creature, then wouldn't it be something from ancient times? The things back then seemed to be more powerful than the things we have now, right? Kong Sengyi exclaimed. The others also became excited. If they could open a living creature, the significance would be different. Most of the ores now were condensed from the essence of spiritual power, from ancient times, or even archaic times. If there was a living creature inside, then the spiritual power had to be so dense that it had turned into a liquid form. It had to wrap the living creature in an instant, freeze its body and characteristics, and make it stop breathing. His functions were also frozen at the same time. When it was released, its bodily functions would continue to function, and its life would continue. If what Third Mo said was true, then wouldn't it be possible for them to meet an ancient creature? Just thinking about it was enough to make people excited. I don't know if the creatures inside are powerful or not, but the creatures from the ancient times are indeed much more powerful than they are now. At that time, celestial emperors were not as rare as they were now. Only one would appear every tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of years. Moreover, there were many paragons unlike now. Third Mo sighed after saying that. Why is this world getting worse and worse? Ouyang Fei asked. The changes in the laws of the heavenly Tao are making it harder and harder to advance in cultivation. Wu Lingyu explained. Many powerful beings have realized this, and have been looking for ways to break through, but to no avail. With regards to the suppression of the heavenly Tao, everyone had a deep understanding of it. Because of this, the The Snow Wolf clan had never been able to become a sacred beast. And now the world was quietly changing, making it harder and harder for humans to cultivate. I understand what senior brother is saying, but why? Why did the rules of the heavenly Tao change? How were the rules of the heavenly Tao formed? Why did it change? Wu Lingyi was stumped by Sima Yuyue's question. He shook his head and said, I think we'll understand when we reach that level. Is there really someone who can reach the emperor tier? Or even the legendary tier? Fatty Chu asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Sima Yue smiled and said confidently, since others can do it, we can do it too. As long as we work hard, we won't regret it even if we can't. That's true, as long as we work hard. The final result isn't that important. I'm just afraid that on the road of cultivation, we won't be able to hold on to our hearts and forget why. Sima Lai nodded and said, Qin Mo had a whole new level of respect for Sima Lai and the others. Previously, he had only treated them as Yuyue's family and friends, so he had taken care of them. Now, however, he was starting to admire their character. As they conversed, half an hour quickly passed. The Seeker Spirit Master on the auction stage was asked to leave. When everyone returned to their seats, Jun Song slowly walked up and said, Did everyone look carefully at this item? What do you think? Not bad, right? Haha, if you think it's not bad, then come and bid. The starting price is 500,000. Let's begin the auction. 550,000. Everyone had yet to come back to their senses from the high starting price, when someone had already started to bid. In a short while, it had increased by 50,000. 600,000. 700,000, 900,000, 1 million. In less than a minute, the price had already doubled and entered the 1 million range. Those who didn't participate in the bidding saw this and sighed at how rich these Seeker Spirit Masters were, shouting out hundreds of thousands and millions like drinking water. They really didn't feel any heartache at all. The price was still rising quickly. 2 million, 3 million, 4 million were all broken one after another. The onlookers were all extremely excited. This was the highest and most exciting part of the night. Almost the entire venue was boiling. Everyone's breathing followed the sounds of the bids. Sometimes it was fast, sometimes it was slow. Third Mo looked at those people calling out bids, and wasn't anxious at all. He was even in the mood to drink tea. Third Master Mo, aren't you anxious? Kong Sengyi looked at Third Mo's calm appearance, and couldn't help but ask, what's there to be anxious about? Third Mo put down his teacup and poured himself another cup. This price won't stop for a while. There's no point in calling out bids in the early stages. Kong Sengyi curled his lips. The situation outside was just as he said. The bidding of the ore did not slow down, and high prices were called out one after another. However, the increase wasn't as fast as before. After a while, Third Mo saw that the number of people calling out bids had decreased and started to bid. 10 million. SSS-. He raised the price by 1 million in one bid, causing everyone present to suck in a breath of cold air. 11 million. A man quickly chased up and also raised the price by 1 million. Once the two of them made their moves, the Seeker Spirit Masters who wanted to call out bids temporarily stopped, because everyone could hear the voices of these two people. If they wanted to compete, no one else had a chance. This Liang Yu acted rather quickly. Fatty Chu didn't have a good impression of this person. The Stone Pavilion is a place to earn money. As the young master of the Stone Pavilion, he naturally has money. Kong Sengyi said, then doesn't that mean we have no hope? Even if Third Mo had money, how could he compare to the young master of the Stone Pavilion? The amount of money that he could move could smash someone to death. That might not be the case. Shimen Feng opened his mouth. It's because he's the young master that he has more things to consider. That's why he can't let go. Sima Yue looked at Shimen Feng. The little brother that always liked to hide behind her back had already grown up and could analyze things from all angles. When the price reached 40 million, Liang Yu's bidding slowed down. An old man beside him advised, young master, this ore is at most 20 million. Now that the price has reached 40 million, it has already far exceeded its value. If we get it in the end, and it's not worth this price, it will be hard for us to explain when we go back. The last time Sima Yue earned 10 million from the stone pavilion, he had already been scolded by his family. If he spent a large amount of money on something useless, he would probably be punished by his family. After thinking about it, Liang Yu gave up on bidding. Third Mo finally won the ore at the price of 49 million. Third Master Mo is so bold. You didn't hesitate at all when bidding. Liang Yu waited for Jun Song to hit the auction hammer before speaking. Isn't young Master Liang the same? However, I originally thought that young Master Liang would follow me to 100 million. I didn't expect you to withdraw early and save me another sum. Third Mo retorted. Chapter 524. Liang Yu almost lost his temper in the private room. Third Mo's words were obviously mocking him. If it wasn't for the old man beside him holding him back, he would probably have gone berserk. The people from the other factions were not like the Seeker Spirit Masters, who recognized the two people's identities early on. However, when they heard the two sides reveal their identities, they knew who the bold bidder was. Previously, they had thought that it was a lot, but now that they thought about it, this price was nothing more than a drop in the ocean for them. Liang Yu slammed his fist on the table and said hatefully, "This third Mo really thinks he's some big shot. If I have the chance, I'll definitely teach him a lesson. Young master, don't be rash." The old man advised. This third Mo has an eccentric personality. These years, he has offended many big powers, but he has always been living well. If it's not because he's too capable, then it's because his background is too high. Either way, we can't act rashly. I'm the young master of the stone pavilion. Can I touch him? Liang Yu didn't care about Third Mo's status at all. The last time someone from the Sage Pavilion provoked him, the entire branch pavilion was mobilized. But in the end, they were all wiped out, and the main pavilion didn't say anything. The old man said in a low voice. Liang Yu was shocked. Where did this third Mo come from? Even the general pavilion isn't saying anything. The old man shook his head and said earnestly, "No one knows about Third Mo's background. Everyone thinks he's just a rogue cultivator. But how could a rogue cultivator be so powerful? Therefore, many people guess that he must have a strong background. There is no unresolvable enmity between young lord and him. So there is no need to continue this." For Liang Yu to be able to become the young master, he naturally had a little bit of ability. He knew that there were already people in the family who were dissatisfied with him. If he brought disaster to the family, he was afraid that his position as the young master would be lost. The ores were quickly sent to Third Mo's private room. Third Mo took out his crystal card and swiped out more than 40 million mid-grade crystal stones. He didn't even blink. He was truly a tycoon. Sima Yue and the rest gathered in front of the rock and examined it carefully. This rock that was half the height of a human was worth more than 40 million yuan. It was worth more than their lives. However, no one noticed anything special about the stone even after looking around. Is this really an ancient ore? Sima Yuming asked. I can't tell. I feel that it's no different from a normal rock. Fatty Chu shook his head and said, I can tell that it's an ore, but I can't be sure if there are spirit stones inside. Chinemo said, Sima Yue was the best. She looked at the ore and said, I can tell that it's from a long time ago, but I can't tell that it's from the immemorial era. I can feel that there's something good inside, but I can't tell if it's a living creature. Third Emma walked over and touched the ore, saying, It's normal that you can't tell. This ore looks ordinary and normal. Normal seeker spirit masters would only treat it as a waste or a normal ore. You've just become a seeker spirit master not long ago. It's already not bad that you can see that it's not normal. Sima Yue was not disheartened by the fact that she could not tell what was going on. Just like what Third Mo had said, she had not been in this industry for a long time. She still had to take it slow. Haste makes waste, and she might even make a mistake. Third Master Mo, when do you plan to open the stone? Kong Sengyi asked expectantly. Everyone wanted to see what could be opened, so they all looked at Third Mo. Third Mo shook his head, saying, I don't know yet. Why? Don't you plan on opening it? Fatty Chu asked. It's not that I don't plan on opening it. If it's really an immemorial creature, when we open it, that thing might run away. If we can't find it by then, wouldn't my 40 million go down the drain? Third Mo explained. The chances of that happening aren't high. Moreover, we can set up a barrier. Kong Sengyi said. If it's a normal thing, then it's fine. If it's something very powerful, then it'll be dangerous when we open it. Secondly, the barrier won't be able to stop it. Third Mo said. Fatty Chu and the others looked at Sima Yue. Although they did not say it, she understood what they meant. If they could open this thing in the spirit pagoda, they could stop it immediately if there was any danger. They wouldn't have to worry about it escaping. However, she did not say anything. Third Mo and Qin Mo were people she could trust wholeheartedly, but Kong Sengyi was not. She did not plan on telling her the secret yet. Oh, if she became her younger sister-in-law, then she wouldn't have to hide it from her. Or she could go back and ask Feng Er. He had the most right to speak about Kong Sengyi. Because they couldn't tell what was going on, everyone's attention quickly shifted from the ore to the auction outside. At this time, another 2 items had already been auctioned. When they looked, a servant girl just happened to bring a long box. This thing looked like a weapon. Jun Song indicated for the servant girl to open the box. A meter-long white whip appeared in front of everyone's eyes. I'm sure many of you have already guessed the auction item this time. It's the long-lost deity striking whip. It's used to attack spirit master's consciousness. It's a divine weapon that allows you to fight above your level. We have already confirmed that this is the deity striking whip that was all the rage back then. The starting price is 200,000 middle-grade crystal stones. Begin the bidding. Once Jun Song's words fell, everyone present was fired up. One by one they began to bid. The scene was even more heated than the auction of the ancient ore. During the auction of the ancient ore, most of the bidders were seeker spirit masters. This time, everyone was mobilized. Everyone wanted to get the deity striking whip. Even Kong Sengyi excitedly grabbed Shiman Feng's arm when the deity striking whip appeared. The light in his eyes was even more dazzling than the stars. There were many people who wanted it, so the price was high. However, Kong Sengyi came prepared this time. He won the deity striking whip for 7 million. Kong Sengyi held the whip lovingly. He could not suppress the smile on his face. Sima Yue took it and looked at it. It felt very good. It was suitable for a girl's petite palm. Moreover, it was not very long. It was not an ordinary weapon. Deity striking whip. It specializes in attacking consciousness. If there's a chance, I want to see it. Qin Mo said. Me too. Kong Sengyi wanted to find an enemy to try it on. Junior brother, the item you wanted is up. Wu Lingyi said. Hearing him say this, the people in the room shifted their attention away from the deity striking whip. Kong Sengyi also kept the whip in his spatial ring and paid attention to the situation outside. The item up for auction now has a very beautiful name. Luotian's tear. It's an essential ingredient for refining many rare pills. Things like monarch-breaking pill, spirit-recovering pill, etc. And this Luotian's tear rarely appears even once in 10,000 years. It was precisely because of the lack of this that many medicinal pills could not be truly refined, even though they only had the pill formulas. Today, everyone is in luck. This Luotian's tear is the biggest pill in history. It can be used 4 to 5 times. Of course, its uses are far more than what I've said. Everyone knows this. The starting price is 500,000. Begin the bidding. Chapter 525. Luotian tears. This was one of the reasons why many people came here today. In fact, many of them came here for this item. For more, please visit Sima Yue knew that it would be sought after by many people. But she did not expect that it would become something that everyone would go after like a flock of ducks. The bids were getting louder and louder. She hadn't even started to participate in the auction, but the price had already reached 5 million mid-grade crystal stones, which was 10 times the original price. These people really don't treat money as money. Fatty Chu clicked his tongue and sighed when he heard those people calling out prices. Jealous. Bei Gongtang laughed. Of course I'm envious. When will we be able to have so much money? We'll be able to buy whatever we want. We'll be able to use it for cultivation and throw it away as we wish. How awesome would that be? Fatty Chu spoke his heart's desire. Why does it sound like something a nouveau riche would do? Ouyang Fei teased. Fatty Chu, on the other hand, wasn't the least bit embarrassed as he smiled and said, "A nouveau riche is also a rich person." Sima Yue did not join the discussion, because she had already started bidding. Luo Shenlei was something she had to obtain no matter what. When she saw the bidding going on like wildfire, she had already made up her mind. If she failed this time around, she would resort to extreme methods. Even if she had to resort to underhanded means, she had to obtain the Luo Shenlei. The price was still rising, and was approaching 10 million. Seeing that Sima Yue was still bidding, Shimin Feng couldn't bear it and said, "Yue, forget it. This is a necessary ingredient. If we miss this opportunity, we don't know when we will get another one." Sima Yue looked at Shimin Feng. "We can't wait. 10 million. At this moment Wu Lingyu spoke. "My sage pavilion wants this Luotian's tear." The moment they arrived, they brought up the name of the sage pavilion, causing many people to leave. This time, there were many powers that relied on the sage pavilion to survive. Once they heard the Holy Sun speak, they had nothing else to say and immediately backed out. There were still some people who wanted to bid, but they suddenly realized that the Holy Sun of the Sage Pavilion was in the same room as Third Mo. Didn't that mean the two of them were on the same side? Even if those people didn't respect the Sage Pavilion, they wouldn't dare to not respect Third Mo compared to the Sage Pavilion. Third Mo, whose background was completely unknown, was even more frightening. Sima Yue was speechless. She looked at Wu Lingyu resentfully. This guy didn't even discuss it with her before speaking up, and even brought the Sage Pavilion into the picture. However, this move was also useful. At least no one chased after him. 10 million going once, 10 million going twice, 10 million going thrice. Jun Song swept his gaze over the auction hall, and after ascertaining that no one wanted to continue bidding, he slammed the mallet. The transaction is successful. The Luotian tear is obtained by His Highness Saint Child. As soon as he finished speaking, a maid came up and took the tray to Sima Yue's room. Sima Yue took out her crystal card and transferred 10 million to the serving girl, before keeping the Luo Shenlei. Towards the end, Sima Yue didn't participate in the bidding. None of the items attracted her attention, but she watched them and gained a lot of knowledge. This auction continued for a day and a night. On the morning of the third day, Jun Song finally said that the auction had ended, and it was time to exchange items. At the start, the two items didn't attract Sima Yue's attention, but when the third item was brought up, she started to listen to Jun Song's request. Jun Song introduced the items as usual before saying, "This time, the owner of the item didn't say what he wanted. He only asked those who want to participate in the auction to write down the items you are willing to take out on a piece of paper. He will decide who to exchange it with." Sima Yue took out a piece of paper and thought for a moment before writing down the golden snake fruit. She then passed the piece of paper to the serving girl, who came to collect the paper. Very quickly, the owner of the item decided who to exchange it with. He chose to exchange it with Sima Yue's golden snake fruit. Outsiders wouldn't know what Sima Yue took out, but if it could move the owner's heart, it must be something valuable. When the last item was brought up, everyone's eyes widened. Even Sima Yue couldn't help but hold her breath. This is the last item in this auction, divine sand. It was obtained from an ancient ore. I don't need to say more about its value. Everyone should understand. Jun Song said, "The owner wants one item. Other than this item, he won't exchange it for anything else." Pavilion Master Jun, don't keep us in suspense. What does he want? Hurry up and tell us. Someone below the stage urged. Jun Song saw that everyone was anxious and smiled until his eyes almost turned into slits. He said that as long as he has divine scar, whoever has divine scar can exchange it for this divine sand. Divine scar? What's that? Everyone present didn't say that they had it. They hadn't even heard of it before. Sima Yue also frowned. She had heard of divine scar before, but she didn't have it. What exactly is this divine scar? Your Highness Holy Sun, do you know? Divine scar is a type of divine medicine. It was planted by monarch Wu Hen in the past. It is said that before he passed away, he poured all of his spirit energy into this medicinal herb, causing it to transform from an ordinary medicinal herb into a divine medicine. This thing only exists in ancient books, and no one has ever seen it before. Wu Lingyu said. Since it doesn't exist, why did the owner set such a condition? Wu Lingyu and Qin Mo shook their heads, expressing that they didn't understand that person's thoughts. Maybe in his eyes, this thing exists in this world. Sima Yue sighed. She didn't think that the other party would want divine scar. She could only stare at the divine sand, unable to obtain it. Jun Song waited for a while. Seeing that no one was able to take it out, he could only let people put it away. At the same time, he announced that today's auction had come to an end. When he got off the stage, he felt a little sorry for the owner. She had already searched many places, but she didn't think that she wouldn't find it. She wanted to try her luck this time, but she still didn't find it. Thinking about her current situation, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. After the auction ended, everyone left one after another. Because she didn't get the divine sand, Sima Yue was a little depressed. Seeing Sima Yue like this, Shimen Feng felt a little heartache. He pulled her and said softly, Yue, it's okay that you didn't get it this time. I'm already very satisfied that I was able to find you. No, since there's a way to control your situation, I won't give up. Sima Yue shook her head and said, although we don't have divine scar, we can go and discuss it with her, and see if she can change the condition for us. Before I try, I won't give up. After making the decision, she wasn't in a hurry to leave. She only let Sima Lai and the others take their people back first. She, Wu Lingyu, Third Mo, and the others went to find the servant, saying that they wanted to see Jun Lan. Chapter 526. Jun Lan was shocked when she heard that Sima Yue was looking for her. The auction for the new dagger was already over. Why did she come looking for him instead of going back to admire the things she had bought? However, even though she was surprised, she still went to meet Sima Yue. Yue, why are you looking for me? Jun Lan asked when she saw Sima Yue's anxious expression. When Sima Yue saw Jun Lan enter, she didn't beat around the bush and asked, do you know who the divine sand belongs to? You're interested in that thing? Jun Lan looked at her in surprise. Sima Yue nodded. She looked at Jun Lan and said sincerely, please tell me that this thing is very important to me. That's a friend of my great-uncle's. Jun Lan said. But I've never seen that person before. You haven't seen him before? Sima Yue was shocked. Didn't they say that she and Jun Tian were in charge of this auction? How could she not have seen such a special guest before? Understanding Sima Yue's thoughts, Jun Lan said helplessly, although the divine sand was confirmed before the auction, we never saw the real thing. It was my great-uncle's idea, so it was included in the list. That thing was brought back by my great-uncle on the eve of the auction. Her great-great-uncle was Jun Song. Sima Yue was silent for a moment. She raised her head and said, Jun Lan, can you introduce me to that master? I want to meet him. Is that thing really that important to you? Jun Lan couldn't bear to reject Sima Yue when she saw how anxious she was. This concerns the lives of my family members. Sima Yue said. I'll give it a try. It might not succeed. Jun Lan said. I heard from my great-uncle that that person's health isn't very good, so he might not agree to meet you. But I will try my best to speak for you. Sima Yue bowed to Jun Lan and said, I can't thank you enough. If I need Yue in the future, Yue will definitely not refuse. Why are you saying all this? Jun Lan glared at Sima Yue. I haven't even thanked you for saving my life. Wait here for a moment. I'll go talk to my great-uncle. Sorry to trouble you, Sima Yue said. Jun Lan left the living room, leaving Sima Yue waiting anxiously. She knew that a lot of people would leave after the auction to avoid being targeted. Therefore, she wasn't sure if the owner of the divine sand would leave immediately. If he left, it would be troublesome for her to find him again. After waiting for a long time, Jun Lan finally returned. When she saw Sima Yue, she said, that person agreed to meet you. But he said that he can only meet you alone. He won't meet anyone else. Sima Yue looked at Wu Lingyu and the others and said, I can go alone. Senior Big Brother Qin Shameless Third, you guys go back first. Wu Lingyu looked at her worriedly. She didn't know who the other party was. If she went alone, she didn't know if something would happen. But they all knew Sima Yoyue's personality. Once she made up her mind, even 9 bulls wouldn't be able to pull her back. We'll wait for you here. Third Emma was also worried. My great-uncle said that that person isn't in Xianyuan Pavilion. So if Yue comes back, she won't come here either. You guys should go back and wait, Junlan said. Yue, let's go. Sima Yue nodded at them and left with Junlan. They didn't go outside. Instead, they went to the backyard of Xianyuan Pavilion and used a transportation array to leave the city. When Sima Yue opened her eyes again, she was already in a quiet and unique small courtyard. The courtyard was so big, but there wasn't a single person's voice. It seemed cold and cheerless. She still hadn't recovered from her dizziness when Jun Song appeared in the courtyard at some point. This is the benefactor you were talking about. Jun Song looked at Sima Yue and asked. Yes, great uncle. Junlan nodded. This junior greets Pavilion Master Jun. Sima Yue bowed to Jun Song. I've already talked to her. She said that she'll give you a few minutes. Jun Song said, come with me. After speaking, he turned and left. Sima Yue hurriedly followed, while Junlan waited for them at the same spot. Without permission, no one was allowed to enter that courtyard. Junlan remembered this rule. Sima Yue followed behind Jun Song. She could feel that his aura was getting heavier as he walked, as if he had something on his mind. She doesn't like crowds. I won't go in. You can go in, Jun Song said. Sima Yue was curious about the identity of the person inside. Why did she feel that Jun Song was that person's subordinate? But looking at Junlan, she shouldn't be someone from Xianyuan Pavilion. Uncle Song said that someone wants to see me. It should be you. Cough, 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 cough. Sima Yue heard a pleasant voice the moment she stepped into the courtyard. But before that person finished speaking, she started coughing. It sounded like she was seriously ill. Illness. Sima Yue didn't know when she had seen someone sick. Because no one who cultivated would get sick. Some would only get injured. She walked around the flowers in the courtyard and saw a chaise lounge in the pavilion. A beautiful woman was lying on the chaise lounge. The woman's face was abnormally red. She must have coughed just now and caused the blood to rush to her head, causing her face to turn crimson. After coughing for a while, that woman raised her head. She looked at Sima Yue with a strange gaze. Then she smiled gently. Miss, why are you looking for me? Sima Yue was shocked. She looked at that woman with caution. She was clearly wearing an illusion ring. How could she tell that she was a woman at a glance? That woman didn't say anything about Sima Yue's caution. She calmed her breathing and said, Don't be afraid. I don't have any thoughts about you. Speaking of which, you're the one who wants to see me. You're here for the sand of God. Sima Yue looked at that woman. She felt that she had an unusual aura. At least in her previous life, she had never met anyone who gave off this kind of aura. You're sick. Sima Yue didn't reveal her purpose. She just blurted out this sentence. That woman tidied up her pure white dress. There was still a trace of blood on it. She had coughed just now. Hearing Sima Yue's words, she was stunned. Then she smiled and said, Yes, I'm sick. My illness is incurable. I've never heard of cultivators getting sick. Sima Yue didn't understand. Now you've seen it. That woman mocked herself. If you're here today for the god's sand, please leave. Other than the god's scar, I won't trade for anything else. You want the god's scar to cure your illness, right? Sima Yue asked. That's right. But you should know that the god's scar is just a legend in ancient books. No one has ever seen it. It doesn't even exist. Disappointment flashed across that woman's eyes. Although it was fleeting, Sima Yue caught it. Chapter 527. Cough, 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 cough. The woman had finally rested for a while, but now she started coughing again. Moreover, the coughing was so severe that she sat up from the chair. She didn't know if it was because of what Sima Yue said. Sima Yue couldn't bear to see her like this. She went up and patted her back, hoping to calm her down. After a while, the woman finally caught her breath and stopped coughing. Are you all right? Sima Yue felt an inexplicable heartache when she saw a stunning beauty coughing like this and even bleeding. After thinking for a while, she took out a cup of spirit fruit juice and handed it to the woman. Drink some of this. The woman raised her head and looked at Sima Yue. Seeing the sincere concern in her eyes, she smiled and took the spirit fruit juice. Then she took a small sip. He thought that it would quench his thirst and calm his nerves. Unexpectedly, his throat felt much better after drinking it. He didn't feel like coughing anymore. This was the most comfortable time he had felt in so many years. This can relieve your cough. Try drinking more, Sima Yue said when she saw her stop after taking a small sip. The woman took another sip before asking, "What is this?" The fruit juice from the spirit fruit has the effect of moisturizing the throat. I also added some herbs in it, Sima Yue explained. She had asked Little Spirit to make this, so when she took it out, it was still freshly squeezed and tasted pretty good. This is even more effective than those pills, the woman said with a smile. Sima Yue looked at her smile and felt that she was a very comfortable woman. Just looking at her made one feel happy. It was a pity that her sickly pale face was pitiful. How did you get sick? It was strange that a cultivator could fall sick. Can I have a look? You're a doctor? The woman was a little surprised, but she quickly regained her calm demeanor. You should be a doctor, but you're still too young. I've seen at least 800 doctors with this body of mine, if not 1,000, but I'm still like this. Since you've already seen so many people, you don't mind seeing one more, right? Sima Yue said. The woman looked into Sima Yue's eyes and lay back down, saying, "You're right. I'll have to trouble you then." Sima Yue took out a chair and sat down beside the woman. She began to examine her body. Feng Hanyan. The woman looked at Sima Yue's serious expression and suddenly said. Sima Yue was stunned. She immediately understood that she was talking about her name. She did not expect her to have such a beautiful name. Sima Yue, she replied. People from the Sima clan? I came from the Yiling continent. Sima Yue replied. She knew that the Sima family that Feng Ruyan was talking about was definitely not the Sima family from the lower continent. Feng Ruyan nodded and did not say anything else. After a while, Sima Yue retracted her hand. She frowned and looked at Feng Ruyan suspiciously. Did my body scare you? Feng Ruyan saw Sima Yue's expression. She was neither surprised nor disappointed. It was as if she had expected her reaction. You're not sick, Sima Yue said confidently. Feng Ruyan smiled. She did not confirm nor deny. But your body is very strange. It's as if your internal organs are not working. Sima Yue continued. A doctor once told me that if I try to slow down my internal organs, I can prolong my life. Feng Ruyan did not hide it. Her internal organs were actually working. It was just that they were very slow. It was so slow that she could not feel it. Sima Yue was stunned. How powerful was she to be able to make her body work like this? You were injured before and have not recovered. It seems like something rushed into your body. Sima Yue said. But you sealed it into your internal organs. That's why I can't see it. Feng Ruyan then looked at Sima Yue. She did not expect her medical skills to be so good. She did not say the reason why her body was not well, but Yue was able to see it. I don't know which quack gave you the idea to seal that aura in your internal organs. It's obvious that you want to drag this sickly body of yours forever. Sima Yue said angrily. Because of this, you can't get it out even if you want to. You can only seal it in your body and slowly eat away at your life force. Feng Ruyan smiled. If that person knew that he was called a quack, she wondered what kind of expression he would have. The situation is urgent. There's no other way. She still defended that person. But this will be troublesome. Sima Yue said. Hearing her words, Feng Ruyan's eyes flashed. You have a way? Your situation is similar to my brother's, but your situation is worse than his. Sima Yue sighed and said. It's really giving me a headache. Feng Ruyan smiled sincerely. It was different from the smile that always hung on her face. This time, it came from the bottom of her heart. That helpless look of hers was rather cute. How long has it been since someone dared to show such an expression in front of her? Or rather, how long has it been since someone dared to show any expression in front of her? No matter if it was fear, worry or anything else, none of them. Then do you have a way? She asked. I don't have a way to cure it, but I can think of a way to suppress it. Sima Yue said. At least you won't feel so uncomfortable. Use this. Feng Ruyin raised the cup in her hand. Unknowingly, she had already finished the fruit juice. Sima Yue shook her head. This can only temporarily relieve the discomfort in your throat. It can't suppress your situation. You have to use other methods. How can I believe you? Feng Ruyin asked. Sima Yue looked at Feng Ruyin and said, I need the divine sand. Save your brother? Feng Ruyin was not angry at her straightforward words and said with certainty. Sima Yue nodded her head. You are an honest lady. Feng Ruyin said. If you can cure my illness, I will give you the divine sand. Sima Yue looked at Feng Ruyin awkwardly. Aren't you making things difficult for me? I already said that I haven't thought of a way to cure you. Moreover, your situation is so complicated. If I cure you and then save my brother, I will be worried about my brother. How can I be at ease to save you? Feng Ruyin was just casually saying it. She knew her current situation. Other than the divine scar, there was no other way. Moreover, she could feel that her body was getting weaker and weaker. Who knows when she would reach the end? Stay by my side. If you can't cure me, you can still get the divine sand after I die. I won't. I will definitely save you, Sima Yue said with a resolute gaze. Then, Your Honor, do you really want her to treat you? Feng Ruyin placed the cup in her hand to the side, closed her eyes and didn't reply. She only said, Go investigate her. Seeing that Feng Ruyin closed her eyes, Feng Jiao waved her hands at those women, and the group of people disappeared silently. After Sima Yue returned, she told them about Feng Ruyin's situation. She wanted to see if they knew who she was. But Third Mo and Wu Lingyu had never heard of such a person. Seeing that they didn't know, Sima Yue didn't think about this problem anymore. The most important thing now was to suppress her illness, and then exchange for the god's sand to suppress Shimen Feng's condition and prolong his life. She went to find Shimen Feng and asked about Kong Sengyi. Shimen Feng said with certainty that even if Kong Sengyi knew about the spirit pagoda, he wouldn't say anything. That night, Third Mo came to find her and said that he was preparing to go to Kong Valley. Sima Yue saw his frown and knew that he was thinking about the ore that she bid for. She thought for a while and said, I know a place that can let you start without any distractions. Where? Third Mo asked. Sima Yue closed the door and with a thought, she brought him into the spirit pagoda. Third Mo had heard of this divine weapon before. Although he was shocked, he quickly accepted it and happily said that if he was here, no matter how powerful that thing was, he wouldn't be afraid. Sima Yue saw his happy expression and said, You stay here and study how to open the ore. I'll bring them in. After that, she brought everyone in, including Kong Sengyi. Knowing that Third Mo was going to open the ore, everyone was excited. Only Wu Lingyu was faintly angry. Others already knew, but he only knew. It seemed like his position in her heart wasn't high enough. After staying inside for a day, Third Mo said that he had thought of a way to open the ore. Thus, a group of people surrounded him and watched as he took out the tools to open the ore. Then he thought for half an hour before opening the ore. Then, he thought for another half an hour before opening the ore again. Because this ore was too complicated, Third Mo couldn't grasp the situation inside. He chose the safest way to open the ore and peeled off the outer layer of the ore. The deeper they went, the more nervous everyone became. The ore that was originally half a person's height had already been peeled off and was only a foot tall. It was coming out. After Third Mo peeled off the outer layer of the ore, they could faintly see a green light. Everyone knew that the spirit ore was coming out. Everyone held their breaths and watched as Third Mo peeled off the rest. When the outer layer of the ore was peeled off, everyone saw the true appearance of the spirit ore. A thin layer of the spirit ore wrapped around a small golden snake that was a foot long. That small snake's eyes were closed, and it gave people the feeling that it was asleep. Suddenly, the color of the spirit ore quickly faded, and the spirit energy inside disappeared. The spirit ore cracked and the small golden snake inside suddenly opened its eyes, shooting out a cold gaze. However, that gaze disappeared in a flash, and the small snake revealed a confused look. A small snake? Is this an immemorial small snake? Fatty Chu looked at the small snake and said in surprise. His words seemed to have startled the small snake. It moved its body and struggled out of the cracked spirit ore. Looking at the people around it, its eyes revealed an ominous glint. SSSSS. The little snake spat out its tongue. Looking at so many people, its eyes were cold, and there was an innate arrogance in its eyes. The small snake looked around and fixed its gaze on Third Mo, who was closest to it. Be careful, Sima Yue shouted at Third Mo, wanting to let little spirit separate the small snake. However, she realized that the small snake had disappeared in a flash. Soundless, Wu Lingyu, Qin Mo and the rest frowned. Even they didn't know where the small snake went. Woo woo woo. Just when the atmosphere was incomparably tense, a whimpering sound suddenly entered everyone's ears, causing their scalps to go numb. It was only then that everyone realized that the little snake was coiled around Sima Yu's neck. Its head, which was the size of a finger, was rubbing against Sima Yu's face. It let out a woo-woo-woo sound as tears fell onto her face. At this moment, she didn't move at all and her entire body was frozen. Chapter 529. Sima Yue felt goosebumps all over her body when she heard the cries, and felt the wetness on her face. First edition, she didn't know how the little snake got to her neck, but she felt a chill on her neck. The little snake had already wrapped itself around her neck. Woo! The little snake's cries became louder and louder. Her tears kept falling. Sima Yue looked at her and felt that she was very sad. Everyone was stunned by this scene. They thought that this thing would hurt people or escape, but they didn't expect this situation. After a while, they saw that the little snake was just crying and had no intention of hurting Sima Yue. Only then did they feel slightly relieved. No matter how I look at it, the way it looks at Yue is as if Yue had once abandoned it. Wei Ziqi said. That's right. I was wondering why it looked at Yue so strangely. It didn't look like it was looking at a stranger. It looked more like it was looking at its former owner. It was the kind of look a pet would give to its owner after being abandoned. Everyone felt the same way. Even Sima Yue felt guilty from the way Sima Yue looked at her, as if she had really abandoned her. Little fellow, did you get the wrong person? Sima Yue saw that the little golden snake had no intention of harming her, so she reached out to stroke the little snake's head and comforted it. Who knew that when she said that, the little snake cried even harder. Its tail kept hitting her body, and its head kept rubbing against her face. Woo 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 woo. She looked so sad that Sima Yue's heart almost melted. She quickly comforted her. Don't cry, don't cry. I won't leave you alone in the future. Actually, it wasn't that she was soft-hearted, but she felt that this little fellow was about to go berserk. Now that it was on her neck, what if it used all its strength and strangled her to death? When the little snake heard her say that, it stared at her with its big teary eyes, as if trying to discern the truth. Really, really? Sima Yue promised. Woo-woo. After confirming that she wasn't lying, the little snake rubbed against her face again. Sima Yue's hair stood on end. She was afraid that Sima Yue would bite her to death if she was careless. She slowly reached out her hand, wanting to remove the little fellow from her neck. However, she realized that the little fellow was wrapped around her neck and refused to budge. Being entangled by an ancient creature like this made her feel insecure. I can't breathe with you like this. Can you come down first? She tried to communicate with the little fellow. This little guy didn't know how to speak the human language. It didn't understand the human language. Woo woo. The little snake whimpered and tilted its head to look at Sima Yue. It seemed to understand what she meant and let go of her neck. However, it did not come down. It hung around her neck like a golden collar and closed its eyes in satisfaction. This guy is relying on Yue. Fatty Chu looked at it and laughed. Sima Yue didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This clearly belonged to Third Mo, but it seemed like he was trying to cling on to her. Shameless Third. Third Mo waved his hand and said, Since it came to you, I'll give it to you. Shameless Third, how can you do that? Sima Yue shook her head. An ancient creature was not something that could be measured with tens of millions of crystal stones. Hiss. As if it felt Sima Yue's intention, the little fellow opened its eyes and stuck out its tongue at Third Mo. Its cold eyes stared at him fiercely. It looked like if he dared to take it, it would bite him to death. See? Third Emo looked at the little snake and spread his hands. Now, it wasn't a matter of whether he wanted it or not. It was a matter of whether the other party wanted it or not. Didn't you give me something good too? If you feel embarrassed, you can brew more fruit wine for me. In order to make Sima Yue accept it, he said, you have so many spirit fruits here. No wonder you have so many types of fruit wine. Okay, I'll definitely let you drink enough. Sima Yue accepted Third Mo's kind intentions. This little fellow looked very fierce. She didn't know what would happen if she angered it. Thus she decided to go along with it. She just didn't know if this fellow would leave after it was done staying by her side. She kept her thoughts and let everyone walk around. Those who wanted to go out were sent out. Then she went into the pill refining room. The little snake suddenly moved. Sima Yue felt that the cold feeling was gone. She looked up and saw that the little fellow had run to the shelf where the pills were placed. She saw it wrap around a pill bottle and plunge its head into the bottle. In the end, its mouth was too small, and it couldn't pull its head out with the pill in it. Sima Yue immediately laughed. The fear she had towards it disappeared just like that. She walked over and broke the jade bottle to free it. If you like to eat pills, just tell me. I'll naturally give it to you. If you do something so embarrassing again, I won't care about you anymore. She reached out and poked the little fellow's head. Woo woo. The little fellow shook its tail in protest. Sima Yue ignored it and turned to the table to arrange the medicinal ingredients. She said, you can eat any of the pills here, but don't waste them for me. Hearing no sound behind her, she turned around and saw that the little fellow had finished a big bottle of pills in less than a minute. Seeing Sima Yue looking at it, it stopped and looked at her very innocently. Luckily, I'm an alchemist. Luckily, there are enough medicinal ingredients in the spirit pagoda. Otherwise, how would it be enough for a little fellow like you? Yu shook her head. Little fellow, you're so small. I'll call you little fellow from now on. Hiss hiss. The little fellow glared at her in protest. I don't want little fellow. Little fellow isn't domineering at all. Sima Yue understood its gaze. She smiled and said, your protest is invalid. I'm going to refine pills. Don't disturb me. Otherwise, I won't let you enter this room in the future. Hiss hiss. The little fellow hurriedly nodded, indicating that it wouldn't disturb her. Sima Yue looked at it and couldn't help but laugh. This little fellow clearly gave off a very dangerous feeling. Even Wu Lingyu had expressed that this little fellow made him feel a faint sense of fear. This meant that it should be very strong. Furthermore, it had the usual coldness of a snake. People couldn't help but keep a distance from it. However, this little fellow was very dependent on her. Thinking about how it cried at her just now, she touched her face. Could it be that she looked very similar to its previous owner? However, its previous owner was dead. It didn't die. This meant that there was no contract between them. If that was the case, then why did it cry so sadly when it saw her? Chapter 530. Since she could not figure it out, she was too lazy to think about it. However, she was a little worried that if the little fellow left her, she would be letting Third Emo down. However, she was thinking too much. The little guy who was happily eating the pills didn't have any intention of leaving her. He was happy because he had so many pills to eat. Sima Yue found many herbs and refined 3 types of elixirs before leaving the spirit pagoda. Although the little fellow was very reluctant to part with those medicinal pills, but she had already left, so it could only bear the pain and leave. It wrapped around her arm like a wrist guard. Sometimes when she had an idea, she would take out a pill to tempt it, teasing it before giving it to eat. Sima Yue stayed with everyone for 2 days. After she finished preparing everything, she went to Xianyuan Pavilion to look for Junlan. In these 2 days, Emo-san and Kong Sengyi returned to Kong Valley, while Shimin Feng was left behind by Sima Yue. Qin Emo also left. He still had matters to attend to in his clan, and had to return to deal with them. He had to go back and make some preparations for Sima Yue's revenge. Although she said that she wanted to take revenge on her own, he still had to be prepared in case she needed it. Bei Gong Tang returned to Autumn Moon City. The matter between the Ying clan and the Beigong clan was not over yet. Her mother was still there, so she needed to go back and help. Ouyang Fei, the Sima family, and Honor Rock also went with them. They wanted to help Beigong Tang. Moreover, Sima Yue had already agreed to meet them in Tianfu City. Thus, only Wu Lingyu and Shimin Feng were left by her side. Jun Lan had already received instructions from the other side, and went to see her immediately. Seeing the two men beside her, she asked, "You're taking them there?" "Don't worry, I'll tell her," Sima Yue said. The reason why he brought Shimin Feng along was because he was afraid that Shimin Feng would be disobedient and run to the Zongjin clan for revenge. Then, he would use the power in his body, so it was best to bring him along. Wu Lingyu shamelessly followed them, saying that she was worried about them and wanted to go with them. Seeing that Sima Yue had already made up her mind, Jun Lan didn't say anything. She brought them to the courtyard in the suburbs using the transportation portal. Perhaps it was because they had brought people with them, but this time, someone stopped them. Feng Jiao looked at Wu Lingyu and Shimin Feng with hostility, but because of Sima Yue, she didn't show anything. She just didn't allow them to enter the innermost courtyard. These two people can live in other courtyards, but they cannot go to His Honor's courtyard, Feng Jiao said. Sima Yue immediately knew who His Excellency was. She thought that such a beautiful woman, even if she were to look at her from afar, she would feel that she was being blasphemous. Okay. She nodded and glanced at Wu Lingyu and Shimin Feng, saying, "You guys go rest with them. I'll go check on her." She went to Feng Ruyan's courtyard alone, and the first thing she heard was her suppressed coughing. She quickened her pace and walked over. It was still the same place, the same chaise lounge, and the same pale and thin figure. It was a heart-wrenching cough, as if she was going to cough out her internal organs. Sima Yue went forward and reached out her hand to Feng Ruyan's back. A stream of spirit energy was injected into her body, alleviating the discomfort in her body, allowing her to slowly stop coughing. Feng Ruyan stopped. The handkerchief in her hand was almost completely dyed red by the blood she coughed out. She threw the handkerchief to the side and smiled faintly. "You still have your ways. Why do I feel that your condition has worsened again?" Sima Yue frowned. The last time she came, her coughing wasn't this bad. How did her condition become so serious in just 2 days? Feng Ruyan didn't say that she used her spirit energy again yesterday. Every time she used it, it would be a death sentence. But yesterday's situation wasn't up to her. She didn't think that the other party would come looking for her, but she had already dealt with them, so there wouldn't be any danger for the time being. Sima Yue grabbed her hand and checked for her. Her face sunk. "You used your spirit energy yesterday?" Feng Ruyan nodded lightly. "You should know your condition. Every time you use your spirit energy, your body will become worse. Why did you still use it?" Sima Yue looked at her pale face and couldn't help but say what was in her heart. He. Feng Ruyan laughed softly. This was the first time she was cared for by someone she didn't know. It was purely caring for her body, unlike other people. "Cough cough, don't worry. I won't die." Sima Yue didn't think that such words would come out of Feng Ruyan's mouth. She should be beautiful, and not this kind of person who was filled with helplessness towards life. "I'll suppress your condition first," she said with a sigh. "Okay." Feng Ruyan smiled and looked at her. Sima Yue took out the pills she refined these 2 days and said, "Eat this first. I will perform acupuncture for you later." Sima Yue stayed in the courtyard for 1 day and 1 night. When Jun Song came to see Feng Ruyan, she was preparing to go back and rest with a tired face. "Eat this." Feng Ruyan took out a pill and placed it in Sima Yue's hand. Her complexion was much better now. She wasn't as pale as before and wasn't as red as when she coughed. She looked like a normal person, as if her illness had already recovered. Sima Yue looked at the pill in her hand. The milky white pill had circles of pill markings on it. This meant that the pill's grade wasn't low. "Aunt Feng, I am just a little tired. I will go back and rest." Chapter 531. Feng Ruyan shook her head and lazily said, "It's because we don't know that we can interact like this." Many people respected her, and feared her because of her status, but very few people truly cared about her. "My lord, does she really not know your identity?" Jun Song said worriedly. "I heard Feng Jiao say that she treats you very special. I don't know if she did it on purpose." PFFF. Feng Ruyan suddenly laughed. She recalled that when she asked Sima Yue why she was so nice to her, Sima Yue blushed and said that she did not want to see such a beautiful person die. She even said that the scent on her body was very comfortable, and Sima Yue could not help but want to get close to her. Could it be because of Sovereign Lord's cultivation method? Jun Song guessed after hearing what Feng Ruyan said. "Although my technique can make people feel close to me, that is only at the initial stage. At this stage, closeness has become reverence." Feng Ruyan said with a bit of loneliness. It was lonely at the top. Only when one stood at the top could they understand. Pausing for a moment, she continued. "However, her soul does give people a sense of closeness, but I don't know why it's hidden. If it weren't for my good perception, I wouldn't have noticed it. If Sima Yue was here, she would definitely be shocked. In the beginning, her soul had formed a contract with the spirit pagoda, so there was a sense of closeness to her soul. However, ever since she had advanced to the god level, she remembered the past. The hatred of the past had changed the aura of her soul, suppressing that sense of closeness. He didn't expect Feng Ruyan to be able to sense this. However, perhaps it was because of the affinity between their souls that they found each other pleasing to the eye. Although it was not obvious now, Jun Song saw that Feng Ruyan was more interested in Sima Yue and said, "Although I don't know much about this person, Lan and the others' evaluation of her is not bad. Furthermore, it was rare for him to have such attainments in medical skills at such a young age. If only." Feng Ruyan raised her hand and interrupted him. "Since I like this child, I don't intend to force her. I have my own decision on this matter." "Yes, my lord." "All right, you can leave first." "Yes." After Jun Song left, Feng Ruyan took a sip of the fruit juice that Sima Yue left for her and closed her eyes to rest. Sima Yue went back to rest for the night and came to look for Feng Ruyan the next morning. This time, Feng Ruyan wasn't in the pavilion, but in the house. She was talking to Feng Jiao about something, and when she arrived, Feng Jiao had just received her orders and came out. "Aunt Feng, it's time for the second acupuncture," she said to Feng Ruyan after entering. Feng Ruyan waved her hand, and the two white-clothed women in the house retreated, leaving behind a woman named Feng Qing. Feng Qing took off Feng Ruyan's clothes, leaving only her undergarment. Her perfect back was exposed in front of Sima Yue. Sima Yue couldn't help but wonder how a man would react if he saw it. Unlike yesterday, he didn't need to prick the whole body. This time, he only needed to prick the 2 acupuncture points on his back and head. After he was done, he took out a milky white pill and fed it to her. Feng Ruyan felt that the pill was different. Her tired soul actually had a sense of relaxation that she hadn't felt in a long time. It was like a spring breeze, soft and gentle. "What kind of pill is this?" she asked curiously. How many years had it been? She actually had a curious heart. "This isn't a pill. It's a pill that I developed using some herbs that are useful for the soul," Sima Yue said. Feng Ruyan raised her eyebrows. She had become her lab rat. Seeing Feng Ruyan's expression, she explained, "Aunt Feng isn't the first to take this pill. Don't worry, there won't be any problems." Feng Ruyan smiled. "I know." Hiss dash, smelling the fragrance of the pill. The little fellow woke up from its sleep and stretched out its head to take the pill. Feng Ruyan then noticed the little golden snake and said in surprise, "Ancient golden snake?" Hiss dash. The little fella stared at Feng Ruyan and spat out its tongue. "Aunt Feng knows about this little fella's origin?" Sima Yue was afraid that it would hurt Feng Ruyan and quickly reached out to hold it down. Seeing Feng Ruyan's expression, she should know about this fella. Feng Ruyan didn't expect that Sima Yue's wrist guard was actually an ancient golden snake. When it was asleep, it had completely concealed its aura. Even she didn't notice it. She looked at the little golden snake again and said, "I've seen it in ancient books. However, it only mentioned the characteristics of its body and didn't describe it in detail. How do you have an ancient creature?" In the last auction, Shameless 3 bought an ancient ore. This little fella came out from there. Sima Yue didn't hide it. She originally thought that Feng Ruyan would know about this little fella's situation. She didn't expect that it was just this little information. An ancient creature is something that many powers are after. In the future, it's best that you don't let anyone know about its identity. Feng Ruyan warned. I understand. Sima Yue took out a pill, and the little fella swallowed it in one gulp. Then it rubbed against the back of her hand, and went back to sleep. Aunt Feng, after 2 more acupuncture sessions, your condition will be completely suppressed. Sima Yue said. In these 2 months, you must not use any spiritual energy. Otherwise, all our previous efforts will go to waste. After these 2 months, you'll only need to rely on pills to suppress it. Then every 20 years, I'll have to perform acupuncture for you. However, this can only be maintained for 200 years. If we still can't find a way to cure it in 200 years, then there's really nothing we can do. 200 years. Feng Ruyan's expression was slightly restrained. A faint smile hung on her lips. 200 years is not bad. Aunt, don't worry. I will definitely find a way in these 200 years. Sima Yue said. I believe in you. Feng Ruyan said as she took out a box and passed it to her. Sima Yue looked at the box and was stunned. Aunt, didn't you say that you'll give it to me after you've suppressed your condition? Take it. I believe in you. Even if I give it to you now, you'll take care of it for me. Feng Ruyan said. The one wearing a mask in the courtyard next door is your brother, right? Yes. Because he was bitten by a poisonous bug, his face is full of scars, so he has to wear a mask. Sima Yue took the box and said. Then I'll have to thank Aunt. You can go. Feng Ruyan put on her clothes and stood up, waving her hand at her. Sima Yue obtained these things, and wanted to suppress Shimen Feng's aura as soon as possible. She bowed and left. The 2 of them were in the same situation. They both had something in their bodies that couldn't be changed. However, because of the difference in strength and other reasons, the difference between the 2 of them was like heaven and earth. Although they're both suppressing the situation, the method to cure it will be different in the future. I hope that when the time comes, the 2 of them will have the same method to cure it. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Looking at the divine sand in her hand, she was in a good mood, and walked toward Shimen Feng's courtyard. Chapter 532. Sima Yue and Shimen Feng stayed in the house for 2 days before coming out. During this time, Wu Lingyu was waiting in the courtyard. The door was opened, and Sima Yue appeared in front of him, looking a little tired. He suddenly felt that this girl was too tired, and often made herself look like this. Are you done? He stepped forward, and naturally reached out to press her temples, gently rubbing them. Sima Yue could feel his spiritual energy flowing into her brain through his fingers. Her tiredness disappeared. She wanted to push his hand away, but now she allowed him to massage her. When Shimen Feng came out of the house, he just happened to see this scene. Seeing the sunlight sprinkling on the 2 people, so quiet and harmonious, his footsteps subconsciously stopped. He knew that Wu Lingyu was interested in his older sister, but he didn't know why. When he was chatting with Wu Lingyu, he had heard Wu Lingyu lament that she had not opened her heart yet. Now that she had regained her memories, it would be difficult for him to enter her heart. Sima Yue felt Shimen Feng's appearance and struggled out of Wu Lingyu's hands. Her expression was a little strange, as if she had done something bad. Wu Lingyu was talking to Shimen Feng naturally. She was not as uncomfortable as she was. It seems that after suppressing the aura in your body, you give people a different feeling. It's not as cold as before. Shimen Feng walked out and said, I've been used to it for so many years. Now that I've suppressed it, I'm still not used to it. It's all thanks to Aunt Feng's divine sand. Otherwise, your condition wouldn't have been suppressed. Sima Yue said, Come with me to thank her later. Okay. Shimen Feng nodded. But who exactly is she? Sima Yue shook her head and said, I don't know either. I think his identity is not simple. Her strength is the highest I have ever seen. But no matter what her identity was, I felt that she didn't belong here. She might leave at any time. It was uncertain whether their lives would intersect in the future. I'll go back and rest first, then I'll take you to see her. After saying that, she returned to her room and began to meditate to recover her mental strength. On the second day, Sima Yue brought the two of them to see Feng Ruyan. Perhaps it was because her body was much better, she met them. When Shimen Feng and Wu Lingyu saw Feng Ruyan, they were somewhat stunned. There was actually such a beautiful girl in this world. Moreover, that kind of indifferent feeling made people feel very comfortable. The vicissitudes of life in her eyes made it seem as if she had gone through countless years. The holy son of the sage pavilion, Feng Ruyan looked at Wu Lingyu and said, I heard that you are Yoyue's senior brother. Yes. Yue said that she hasn't been to the Divine Devil Valley. How is that devil brat now? Feng Ruyan said indifferently, but it made Wu Lingyu's heart tremble. Everyone called his master Old Man Devil, but she called him Little Devil. What did this mean? Aunt Feng has seen my master before? Sima Yue asked curiously. I have. At that time, he was still a little brat, and was very arrogant. I didn't think that he would be the Valley Lord of the Divine Devil Valley now. Feng Ruyan said with a sigh. Sima Yue wanted to laugh. An old man like Old Man Devil was already at a height that people looked up to. Now that he was called a little brat, if he heard it, who knew how he would react? Moreover, she really couldn't imagine what that arrogant little brat would look like. At the same time, she was guessing her identity. A beauty that was more powerful than Old Man Devil. Her identity must be extraordinary. If she met him in the future, she could ask him, I heard that the food you cook is quite delicious. When are you going to cook for Aunt to try? Feng Ruyan asked. Sima Yue knew that she must have sent people to check on her, so she wasn't surprised that she knew how to cook. She smiled and said, If Aunt Feng wants to eat, I can cook for you now. However, your body is special now, so there are some things that you can't eat. Just do as you see fit. Feng Ruyan said, I haven't eaten for a long time, and I miss the taste of it. Then I'll go make it now. Sima Yue stood up and said, No rush, let Jun Song make a kitchen first. Feng Ruyan remembered that there wasn't a kitchen here. No need, I have everything. Sima Yue said. She originally planned to cook outside, but Feng Ruyan said to cook in the courtyard, so that she could watch from the side. Sima Yue chose a few medicinal herbs that were beneficial to Feng Ruyan's body, and made a few dishes. They were all simple, but the taste was not bad. Feng Ruyan ate happily. Although the taste was light, it was to her liking. After eating, Shimen Feng and Wu Lingyu left. Sima Yue stayed behind to chat with Feng Ruyan, taking the chance to ask her questions about cultivation. Feng Ruyan was really good to her. No matter what she asked, she would patiently answer her questions. Feng Ruyan was always able to answer the questions that she was struggling with. With just a few sentences she would feel enlightened. Feng Jiao and the others were envious when they saw Feng Ruyan answering Sima Yue so patiently. To be able to receive guidance from his honor, who knows how many lifetimes of fortune she has accumulated. If those people knew, they would go crazy with envy. His honor liking her is indeed a blessing. Sima Yue knew that Feng Ruyan's identity was not ordinary, but she didn't say it out loud. She was afraid that if she said it out loud, they wouldn't be able to interact like now. And Feng Ruyan also liked this kind of interaction. In her long life, this period of time was just a drop in the ocean, but it made her heart feel peaceful. Thus she liked Sima Yue even more. Chapter 533. Feng Ruyan wasn't surprised by Sima Yue's answer. After interacting with her for 2 months, she understood her better. If she had wanted to follow him from the start, she wouldn't have not asked about his identity for such a long time. It's good that you don't go back with me. If there's a chance in the future, you'll naturally go too. She smiled faintly. I'll give you something. Sima Yue did not know what she wanted to give her. She wanted to reject it, but Feng Ruyan placed her hand on Sima Yue's forehead. Following that, Sima Yue felt an additional presence in her sea of consciousness, together with Feng Zhixing's faint figure. Feng family. Feng Ruyan hurriedly sensed Feng Zhixing's aura, and asked in astonishment. Sima Yue didn't expect that she would do the same thing as Feng Zhixing before he left. She said anxiously, "Aunt Feng, how can you do this? How can your body stand it?" Feng Ruyan raised her hand to stop her and said, "You should know that my soul power is stronger. That makes no difference to me. However, what I'm more curious about is who is that person in your sea of consciousness?" "It's my master," Sima Yue said. "His name is Feng Zhixing. After giving me this, he left the Yilin continent and returned to the primordial lands." "Aunt Feng, do you know the Feng family?" She took out Feng Zhixing's jade pendant and showed it to Feng Ruyan. "I don't know the Feng Zhixing you're talking about, but I've seen the patterns on this jade pendant before." Feng Ruyan said, "These few years, I've been walking around the central and outer regions, and I've seen many of the Feng clan's symbols. But if you ask me about Feng Zhixing, I don't know." Sima Yue put away the jade pendant. She naturally knew that there were members of the Feng family in the middle and outer regions, but she did not know where Feng Zhixing was. When he left, he said that he was going to settle the matters between the Feng clan and the Sage Pavilion. She didn't know how the situation was now. She believed that only the direct descendants of the Feng clan would have this jade pendant. When she went to the central region, she would definitely ask the Feng clan. "I can feel that his strength isn't that high, but he's willing to take out a portion of his power to protect you. He treats you very well," Feng Ruyan said. "Master is very good to me," Sima Yue said. Thinking about how Feng Ruyan had also left her aura in her body, she was touched. "I will definitely think of a way to cure Aunt Feng's illness." "Hehe, alright, I'll wait." Feng Ruyan smiled and said. It was unknown if she heard her words. "I left this aura in your body. If you encounter something you can't solve, you can also touch her. Once I sense it, I will rush over." She didn't say it out loud, but Sima Yue understood. "If there's a chance, go to Carefree World to take a look." After Feng Ruyan finished speaking, her figure slowly faded and disappeared in front of her. At the same time, Feng Jiao and the others who were standing guard outside vanished into thin air. Sima Yue opened her mouth but no words came out. She just watched as Sima Yue disappeared quietly. She did not open the space tunnel like Old Man Devil and the rest. Just how powerful was she? Jun Song hurriedly walked in from outside, but he could no longer see Feng Ruyan's figure. "Jun Song, I'll have to trouble your Xian Yuan Pavilion to take care of Yue." Feng Ruyan's voice came out of thin air. Jun Song cupped his hands towards the sky and said, "Xian Yuan Pavilion will not disappoint your honor." Feng Ruyan's voice did not come out again. It was unknown if she heard his reply. Jun Song looked at Sima Yue, who was in a daze, and said, "Little friend Yue, this is my Xian Yuan Pavilion's token. With this, you can mobilize half of the Xian Yuan Pavilion's power. If you encounter any problems, you can look for them." Xian Yuan Pavilion had an extraordinary position in the primordial lands. Furthermore, their management was very strict. Even an ordinary elder did not have the authority to mobilize half of the pavilion's power. Sima Yue saw Jun Song take out such a token and was shocked. "Pavilion Master Jun, how can this? Little friend Yue, this primordial lands is extremely dangerous. Although you are the young master of the Divine Devil Valley, the Divine Devil Valley is only active in the central regions. Now that you are in the outer regions, I can't follow you all the time. It's best that you take this," Jun Song said. "You also heard what his honor said. If anything happens to you, we won't be able to explain it to him." "Aunt Feng isn't a member of your Xian Yuan Pavilion," Sima Yue said. "That's right. But he has a deep relationship with my Xian Yuan Pavilion," Jun Song said. "You should accept this. Otherwise, this old man can only follow you around 24 hours a day to ensure your safety." Sima Yue's mouth twitched. Why did Jun Song's words sound so shameless? At this moment, he was very similar to the one at the auction. He was different from the one in front of Feng Ruyan. However, she still took the token. Since he had already said so, if she still didn't accept it, it would seem unreasonable. If this old man really followed her all day long, the people of the Xian Yuan Pavilion would probably go crazy. She looked at Jun Song and didn't ask about the relationship between Xian Yuan Pavilion and Feng Ruyan. Although this old man gave her the feeling of an old urchin, she believed that to be able to become the pavilion master of the outer regions and be together with Feng Ruyen, he definitely wasn't as he appeared. Pavilion Master June, since Aunt Feng has already left, Yue won't disturb you any longer, she said to June Song. Chapter 534. The more Yue thought about it, the more worried she became. Thus, she hurriedly bade farewell to June Song, brought Shimin Feng, and had Wu Lingyu open the space tunnel, and went to Autumn Moon City together. The other end of the spatial tunnel that Wu Lingyu opened was right above the Ying clan. When Sima Yue and the other two appeared, Bei Gong Tang and the others immediately felt it. It's a bit dull and depressing, Shimin Feng said as he supported Sima Yue to prevent her from falling from the sky. Sima Yue was depressed that she could not fly. However, she could also feel the oppressive atmosphere in the Yin family. Just as she was worried about Bei Gong Tang and the others' safety, a familiar figure ran out from the house. Fifth brother. Yue, why are you here? Shimin Feng held onto Sima Yue's waist and landed on the ground with her. Seeing that she was fine, she heaved a sigh of relief and said, "We've settled the things on our side. Seeing that you guys haven't contacted us, we were worried that something might have happened to you guys, so we came to take a look." The head of the Yin family also came out of the house. When he saw Wu Lingyu and Sima Yue, he said, "What are you standing here for? Tang, or why aren't you inviting them inside to sit?" "Yes, clan head," Bei Gong Tang replied. "We are currently discussing some matters. I will bring you all back to the courtyard to rest." "What happened?" Sima Yue asked. "The Beigong family and the Earth Palace have joined forces to suppress us. Furthermore, they've even joined forces with other powers and formed an alliance. We've already fought with them a few times in these 2 months." Beigong Tang said, "They're very strong. We've already been forced into a dead end. Furthermore, they are still in discussion. According to the information we received, they will launch an all-out attack on us in 2 days. What about the Goshawk clan?" "The Goshawk king returned, and so did the other Goshawks," Bei Gong Tang said. "We also wanted to send people to inform the Goshawk clan to ask for their assistance, but the people we sent out were all killed by them halfway." "Where is Honor Rock?" After General Rong and his men left, their whereabouts are also unknown. However, unlike the men we sent out, their corpses were not returned. Bei Gong Tang said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Yu. It's all because of us that General Rong and the others. It seems like the Beigong clan and the Earth Palace do not intend to survive in this world." Sima Yue said coldly, "Little Rock, are Honor Rock and the others still alive?" Little Peng appeared in front of everyone. He closed his eyes and sensed for a moment, saying, "He's still alive, but his aura is a bit weak. He should be heavily injured. Moreover, they are still running. They may be being hunted down." "Is it far away?" "Not far. It shouldn't be far from Autumn Moon City," Little Rock said. "Okay, tell them to hold on. We'll go and save them right away," Sima Yue said. "Also, release your aura to warn the Beigong clan and the Earth Palace. Also, let the Goshawk King know that you are back." Little Rock nodded. The aura of the golden-winged rock was released without reservation. The Earth Palace Master and Beigong Xiong, who were discussing matters with the Beigong clan, stood up immediately. This is... The Rock King is back." Hearing this, everyone's expression changed. If the Rock King was back, then they would definitely be able to contact the Goshawk clan. Once they arrived, the situation would be reversed. "It seems like we can't care so much anymore. Gather people immediately. We have to destroy the Yin clan before the Goshawk clan arrives." Beigong Xiong slapped the table and said, "Palace Master, please send people from the Earth Palace over." The Earth Palace Master, who was also Gu Yin-er's mother, said fiercely, "I didn't expect the Yin clan to be able to find people at this time. Whoever dares to stop me from avenging my daughter and granddaughter, I will not let them go. Come on, take my token back and call all the people of the Earth Palace here." "Yes, Palace Master." A woman stepped forward to take the token and turned to leave. In the Goshawk clan's land, The Goshawk King was cultivating at the edge of a cliff with his eyes closed. Feeling Little Rock's aura, he opened his eyes. There was a trace of doubt in his eyes, which then turned into ruthlessness. He ordered, "All clansmen listen to my order. Those with the strength of a sacred beast and above, gather immediately." "King, what's the matter?" a woman behind him asked. "King is back. He just sent a message through the air. He must have met with danger." The Goshawk King said, "Go and arrange it. We will leave in half an hour." "Yes, King." Half an hour later, the Goshawk King left with thousands of sacred beasts. Other than leaving behind some necessary people to protect the younger generation of the clan, the others followed him to Autumn Moon City. Sima Yue knew that once Little Rock returned, the Baigong clan and the Ying clan would definitely make a move. However, if they didn't do so, they wouldn't be able to contact the Goshawk clan. They needed a lot of time to go back and forth. It was hard to guarantee that the Baigong clan and the Earth Palace wouldn't make a move. Ying clan master. The Ying clan should have a defensive array, right? Yes. Little Rock said that the Goshawk clan has already set off. They will reach here in a day. You just need to activate the teleportation array and hold on until tomorrow, Sima Yue said. Although we have a defensive array, if too many of them come and attack continuously, the array won't last long, Ying clan master said. Sima Yue thought about it and called Little Rock. They flew into the air and took out array stones. They threw them in the Ying clan's direction. When the Ying clan saw Sima Yue setting up the array, they cried out in surprise. "She's an array master?" Bei Gong Tang glanced at them, but didn't reply. Because the Ying clan wasn't small, Sima Yue spent more than an hour to set up the array. She then landed and said to Bei Gong Tang, "I set up an illusion array. If the Baigong clan and the Earth Palace come, activate the illusion array and trap them for a while. However, this illusion array won't last long. Once it's broken, you will have to use the defensive array. However, with the two arrays together, you should be able to delay them until the Goshawk clan arrives. Also, if the Earth Palace and the Baigong clan want to attack you, they will need some time to prepare." "Yue, what about you?" Bei Gong Tang asked. "I'm going to save Honor Rock and the others," Sima Yue said. "To be able to chase them away, the opponent's strength is definitely not low. Honor Rock and the others are injured and need someone to save them." "Then you guys be careful," Bei Gong Tang said. Sima Yue nodded and said, "You guys too." Not long after Sima Yue and the others left, a group of people came down from the Earth Mountain. They were aggressive and rushed towards Autumn Moon City. At the same time, many forces in Autumn Moon City gathered in front of the Baigong clan, waiting for the final order. Chapter 535. When Bei Gongxiong led everyone to launch the final attack on the Yin family, he realized that no matter where the Yin family went, they always maintained a constant distance. They had no way of getting close to the Yin family's residence. "Patriarch, Palace Lord, the situation doesn't seem right. No matter where we go, we can't reach the Ying clan. It's as if we're walking on the same spot." Someone noticed that something was amiss and reminded, "Not good, Palace Master. We've entered an illusion." A man from the Earth Palace said, "Illusion array?" The man looked at the faint smoke that filled the street and said with certainty, "That's right. We must have entered an illusion array. However, this illusion array was set up in a hurry, so it only has the effect of trapping and does not have any offensive power." "Then isn't what we're seeing now an illusion?" Bei Gongao said. "That's right." The man's expression was solemn. He was a formation master invited by the Earth Palace. His attainments in formation were relatively deep, but even he did not notice that he had already entered the other party's formation. It could be seen how powerful the other party's formation was. If it wasn't for the fact that they were pressed for time and didn't have time to set up their attacks, they would probably be dead by now. Sima Yue had once used this formation to deal with the Jiang family. It had caused Jiang Fei and Evernew City's city lord to lose control and kill each other. However, due to the lack of time, she could only set up an illusion to trap the people that Bei Gongxiong had brought with him. "Master, can you break the formation?" the Earth Palace Master asked. "It will take some time." That array master said. The other party's attainments in array formations are higher than mine. She can surround the entire Yin family. We have to deduce the rules of her calculations before we can break the array. Then should we continue? Bei Gongxiong asked. It's useless even if we leave. As long as we stay in this array formation, we won't be able to get close to the Yin clan's house. It's better to ask everyone to stop, so that their efforts will be in vain. Grandmaster stopped talking after he finished speaking, and began to calculate the data of Sima Yoyue's array formation. The main members of the Yin clan were all in the main courtyard. When they heard that the Beigong clan was trapped in the illusion array, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Yue said that you can trap them for half a day. That should be no problem, Beigong Tang said. Little Tang, this friend of yours is really amazing. She just casually set up an array, but it's so powerful. One of Beigong Tang's aunts said with a smile. Yue is naturally amazing. When Beigong Tang talked about Sima Yue, her tone was filled with pride. When she comes back, we must thank her properly, Yin family head said. Xiao Tang, it's all thanks to you. Otherwise she wouldn't have helped us. Clan head. In the end, Beigong clan and the Earth Palace attacked us because cousin sent Beigong heir and Guyin heir to the abyss of hell. Why should we thank her? A lady glared at Beigong Tang unhappily. It was clearly that Beigong heir, who swore an oath to compete with cousin in pill refinement. She was only pulled into the Avicii hell after losing. That Guyin heir also went against her oath and wanted to kill cousin, so she was pulled into the Avicii hell. They only have themselves to blame. What does it have to do with cousin? A man with delicate features said. Moreover, the Beigong clan has wanted to deal with our Yin clan for a long time. Even if this matter didn't happen, they would still deal with us. You're being biased by blaming cousin like this. That lady was choked by the man's words. She wanted to refute, but the Yin family had berated her. What time is it now? You're still bickering here. Clan head, what Lu Er said is right. This happened because they came back. Even if you berate Lu Er, you can't cover up this fact. A lady said. She looked at Yinlan and Beigong Tang with an unfriendly gaze. They realized that the clan treated Beigong Tang and Yinlan very well. Yinlan was about to snatch their position. It seems that aunts are very unhappy that we're in the Yin family. Beigong Tang smiled and said, since you don't welcome us, when this matter is over, my mother, brother and I will leave the clan. We won't be part of the Yin family anymore. If you want to leave, leave now. Once you leave, who knows if the Beigong clan will retreat? A teenage boy said. Are you sure that if we leave, the Beigong clan will let the Yin family go? Can the Yin family save themselves? Beigong Tang laughed coldly. Those people's original target was you. If you leave, they will naturally let us go. Even if we don't leave, when the Goshawk clan comes, they will kill all of them. That boy said. Cousin, you really know how to talk nonsense. Beigong Tang looked straight at that boy. Do you think that if we leave, the Goshawk clan will come and help you? What relationship do you have with them? The boy was speechless. What she said was right. If she left, the Sima clan would definitely leave as well. Without them, the Goshawk clan would not care if they lived or died. They were originally sent by Sima Yue to help Beigong Tang, not to help the Yin family. Alright, let's talk less. Yin family head rubbed the space between his eyebrows. Family head, I'm telling the truth. I've already talked to mother. After this matter is over, mother, brother and I will leave the Yin family. Little Tang, why do you have to? A man who looked somewhat similar to Yinlan spoke up. Why? Beigong Tang laughed coldly. Although my mother married into the Beigong clan, she did not do anything to let down the Yin family. I didn't expect that in just a few days after I left Autumn Moon City, you people would come and bully them. Why do you have to do this? This Yin family is not something that we want to acknowledge. You treat mother well, so we naturally want to come down. You don't want us to stay, so we won't be an eyesore and be bullied. It's not like we can't live without you. The last time she went to the auction, she came back and found that her mother and brother were being bullied. She was furious. After investigating the reason, she found out that they thought that Sima Yue would not come back, so there was no use in keeping Lan and the rest. At that time, there were people who were unhappy that they came back, and at that time, they came to bully them. Lan said that they would let it go, because they were from the family. But Bei Gong Tang decided that once the Bei Gong clan's matter was settled, she would take them with her and leave. Lan, you think so too? The family head looked at Lan, who was silent at the side, and asked. I'll do whatever Tanger says. Lan said. Family head, if we really settle the Bei Gong clan and the Earth Palace, the family will be the only big family in Autumn Moon City. This can be considered our repayment for your shelter. Bei Gong Tang said. Seeing Bei Gong Tang's firm attitude, the family head sighed in his heart. He regretted that he did not punish his sons for that matter. It was because of the unfair treatment that Bei Gong Tang, who did not have a good impression of the family, was bitterly disappointed and wanted to leave. At this time, Sima Yue did not know what was happening in Autumn Moon City. At this time, she was rushing towards a direction outside of Autumn Moon City. Chapter 536. Honor Rock brought 2 four-winged rocks and flew towards Autumn Moon City. They received news that the king was already on the way to rescue them. As long as they could hold on until they arrived, they would be saved. Their hearts were filled with hatred when they saw the Goshawk's remaining members getting closer and closer. It was unknown where this Earth Palace had met the remnants of the Goshawk clan. Knowing the grudge between them and the Four-Winged Rock clan, they also knew that they would seek the help of the Goshawk clan. Thus, they ambushed them outside the city. As soon as they came out, they would intercept them. There were only 3 of them, but the other side had more than 10 people. If it weren't for their strength, they wouldn't have been able to hold on for so long. He had never been in such a sorry state in his entire life. The Goshawk king had been killed in the previous incident, but the Goshawk clan had not been completely wiped out. Some of the Goshawk clan had escaped, and some of the stronger ones had killed their way out. Now that they hated the Four-Winged Rocks to the bone, they would naturally not show mercy when they saw their enemies. Sima Yue sat on Little Rock's back. Hearing him say that Honor Rock's aura was getting weaker and weaker, her heart was burning with anxiety. Master, they are right in front. Little Rock said. They heard the sounds of fighting. It must be Honor Rock and the others fighting. Thinking of this, Little Rock increased his speed. Very soon, they saw the Honor Rock trio covered in injuries, stubbornly resisting the siege of a group of Goshawks. It's the remnants of the Goshawk clan. Sima Yue saw that it was the Goshawk race that was chasing after Honor Rock and the others. She was so angry that she called out the remaining 4-winged rocks to save them. When 9th Rock and the others saw the remnants of the Goshawk clan injuring Honor Rock and the others to such an extent, they hurriedly flew over to save them. The situation instantly reversed. Honor Rock's injuries were very serious. The reason he was able to hold on until now was completely because of the belief that someone would come to save them. Now that he saw his own people coming, the string in his heart relaxed. He fainted and fell straight down from the sky. General Honor. Someone saw him falling and hurriedly grabbed his body, then slowly brought him down. The other 2 injured ones also withdrew from the battlefield and landed beside Honor Rock, transforming into mimicry. Sima Yue and Little Rock rushed over and saw the unconscious Honor Rock. She hurriedly took out a bottle of pills and gave it to the other 2 to eat. Then, she looked at the mountain-like Honor Rock and the small pills in her hand and facepalmed. I'll do it. Little Rock transformed into his human form and came to the side of Honor Rock's mouth. He pried open his huge beak and then threw the medicinal pill inside. Seeing that she had returned, the anger on Bei Gong Tang's face dissipated a little. Yue, did you find General Rong and the others? I found them. Although they are injured, their lives are not in danger. Sima Yue said. I heard you arguing outside just now. What happened? It's nothing. It's just that we wanted to leave the Ying clan, and they didn't agree. Bei Gong Tang glanced at them coldly. Sima Yue looked at Lan, who was sitting at the back, and asked, Auntie Lan, do you want to leave? Lan nodded, saying, I want to be with Tanger. It's not good for me to say anything about your clan's matters. But no matter what decision you make, I will support you, Sima Yue said to Bei Gong Tang. After speaking, she looked at the Yin clan head and said, Yin clan head, leave a way out for everything. We will meet again in the future. If they really angered Bei Gong Tang, the Yin clan would suffer a double loss and end up in the same state as the Bei Gong clan. She did not say what she wanted to say, but how could the Yin clan not understand her meaning? Since they want to leave, then let them leave, Yin Hao said as he came in from outside. Third brother, Howa. The Yin clan did not expect that Yin Hao would actually support Bei Gong Tang to leave the clan. Did he not know how big of a loss this would bring to the clan? Yin Hao looked at the people present and said, I want her to live. Since she is not living well in the clan, then let her leave. You guys should also put away your little schemes if you don't want the Yin clan to end up in the same state as the Bei Gong clan. Sima Yue did not expect Yin Hao to say such words. However, his position in the clan was different. Since he had already said so, even if the Yin clan had any objections, it was useless. Chapter 537. With Yin Hao's words, Bei Gong Tang finally brought Yin Lan and Bei Gong Hang out of the Yin clan. However, the Yin family had agreed to let them leave, but he didn't want them to leave the family. Their names still remained in the family records. Bei Gong Tang saw that Yin Lan was indeed reluctant to part with the Yin clan, and also agreed. In any case, as long as Yin Lan was not in the clan, she would not be bullied by those people. Thus, the group quickly left Autumn Moon City and rushed to Tianfu City. Tianfu City was the largest city in the central region. There were many forces in the city and many forces and clans gathered outside the city. It was much more than other cities. When Sima Yu and the others arrived at Heavenly City, they found an inn to stay in. After that, they didn't go to the Heavenly Sect. Instead, they found a house near the sect and settled down as a place for them to stay. Sima Lai, Sang Mu Yu and Yin Lan did not want to go to the academy, and Shimen Feng was too old to go. There was a courtyard where they could live normally. Yue and the others had a place to stay when they left the academy. The courtyard he bought wasn't big. There were only a few small courtyards in total. However, because it was close to the academy, the price was ridiculously high. Fortunately, Sima Yue still had 4 million mid-grade crystal stones left. After spending almost all of her savings, she bought this courtyard. There was still more than a month before the academy's enrollment. Sima Yue and the rest used this time to familiarize themselves with Heaven City. Tianfu City was the largest city in the central region, spanning hundreds of thousands of kilometers from north to south and hundreds of thousands of kilometers from east to west. Even if one stood on the tallest building, they wouldn't be able to see the end of it. The Sky Heaven School was located in the eastern district of the city. It was close to the center of the north-south direction, so it wasn't very far to the north and south of the city. At least they could use spirit beasts to go back and forth in the same day. The western district was much further away. There was an area in the city center that did not belong to the 4 cardinal directions. It was the most prosperous area in the city. Those who could enter this area were not ordinary forces. Furthermore, there was a rule here that no one was allowed to fight here. Once discovered, they would be blacklisted by various forces. Most people who entered this place didn't dare to act rashly, because the shop owner here wasn't someone anyone could afford to offend. Sima Yue and the rest had been wandering around the city for the past few days. Even if they didn't buy anything, they only rode on the spirit beasts, and took a few days to finish walking the main streets. On this day, Sima Yu, Sima Lai, Sima Yulin and Wu Lingyu went to the memory restaurant in the city center. After entering, she showed the shopkeeper a token, and he immediately led them to a courtyard in the backyard. Greetings, second master. The shopkeeper bowed towards Sima Yue. I have been waiting for you under young master's orders. Shopkeeper you don't have to be so courteous. Just call me Yue. Sima Yue waved her hand. I'm here to take a look at the situation here. Before Qin Emo left, he originally wanted to give her the entire memory restaurant. He said that it was originally open for her. She rejected him, so Qin Emo said that she would be responsible for it as well. In the future, she would be the second master of memory restaurant. Seeing the persistence in his eyes, she understood that he wanted her to have someone to rely on and a source of income. He wanted her to know that if anything happened, he would still be there to rely on. I don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past, he said sadly. Her heart warmed, and she accepted this favor. I will show the account book to young master. Shopkeeper, he said. No need. Sima Yue said. Shopkeeper, whatever you did in the past, you will do it in the future. If anything happens, just let me know. There's no need to look at the account book. Yes, this is my grandfather. If there's anything in the future, just look for him. We are now living in Banyan Tree Street. Sima Yue said as she pointed at Sima Lai. I understand. Shopkeeper, he replied. Shopkeeper, how much do you know about the heavenly sex recruitment? Sima Yue asked. Does young master want to participate in the recruitment? Shopkeeper, he asked. Yes, I heard that this sect is not bad, so I want to go in and learn. Sima Yue said with a smile. This heavenly sect is not bad. It is one of the best in the entire primordial lands. Many people from the inner regions come here to learn. Shopkeeper, he said. Apart from being under 100 years old, you have to go through a few rounds of tests before you can enter the sect. Do you know the contents of the tests? Shopkeeper, he shook his head. The contents of the tests are kept secret before the recruitment. You will only know after the tests are over. The contents of the tests are different every time. There's no way to get any experience from the previous batch of recruitment. After that, Sima Yue asked a few more questions about the sect. They left after getting a general understanding of it. On the way back, they saw many young people discussing the recruitment. They guessed that these people were also here to participate in the recruitment. So many people came to participate, but only 100 people are recruited. You can imagine the competition. Sima Yulin couldn't help but sigh. Even if the competition is fierce, I believe that we can still get in. Sima Yue said confidently. She believed that it was not only her, but also her brothers from the Sima family, Bei Gongtang and the others. Everyone had experienced so many things, so their mentality was definitely fine. Their talent was not bad, and adding on the time they saved in the Spirit Pagoda, their strength was not bad for those under 100 years old. It should not be a problem for them to pass the recruitment test. Hey, have you heard? There are many geniuses who came to participate in the recruitment this time. Really? Who are they? You haven't heard? That person said with surprise. I heard that apart from the geniuses from the outer regions, there are also geniuses from the inner regions, Southern Desolation, Northern Desert, Eastern Region and Western Liang. I heard that a few geniuses came to participate. Really? Then this year's competition will be tough. Of course. The two of them walked away as they spoke. Sima Yue and the others who accidentally heard the news looked at their backs and sighed at the difficulty of the competition this time. After they went back, Sima Yue and the others told everyone about the news they received today. Everyone's faces were solemn, and the pressure was not small. Everyone, don't worry. If you can enter, then enter. If you can't, don't be discouraged. There are many paths to cultivation, and this is not the only one. Sima Lai said. Grandfather is right. We will do our best. Even if we can't enter, we will not regret it. Sima Yuqi said. In the excited atmosphere of the whole city, the recruitment day of the heavenly sect arrived. Even Sima Yule and the others could not calm down because they were too excited. A group of people ate, drank and chatted in the courtyard. Sima Yue came to Wu Lingyu's side with 2 cups of wine and handed one to him. Senior, are you not going to go back? I said I would be with you, waiting for Imo Sha to wake up. Wu Lingyu smiled faintly as he drank the wine in one gulp. You also want to participate in the recruitment with us? Sima Yue looked at Wu Lingyu with surprise. Without waiting for him to reply, she said, You are definitely more than 100 years old. You don't have the right to participate. Wu Lingyu came in front of Sima Yue, and the two of them could smell the wine from each other's breath. Junior, do you want me to go with you? Chapter 538. Wu Lingyu's voice was lazy and teasing, but it also gave people the feeling that he was serious. Sima Yue turned her head and their noses touched. When she saw those smiling eyes, her heart skipped a beat. Junior brother hasn't answered me yet. When she heard that magnetic voice and smelled the faint fragrance of wine on his breath, she didn't know why her face turned red. She quickly turned her head in embarrassment and said, "I don't care what senior brother wants to do." After that, she lowered her head and took a sip of wine to hide her emotions. Wu Lingyu chuckled softly. This was the first time Sima Yue had heard him laugh out loud. In the past, it was always a faint smile, a devilish smile, an indifferent smile. It was always a silent smile. Looks like this guy is in a good mood. At the thought of this, Sima Yue could not help but glare at him. She turned around and returned to the table to continue eating and drinking with everyone else. She couldn't be bothered to care about what he would do in the future. He wasn't a child anymore. He definitely had his own plans. Wu Lingyu leaned against the balustrade of the pavilion. He took out a wine jug, filled his cup, and drank it with a smile. He would give her a surprise. The next morning, Sima Yue and the rest packed up and headed to the Sky Heaven School. They were close to the academy and had woken up early. However, when they arrived, they still discovered that they were late. That was because the outside of the academy was bustling with activity. There were tens of thousands of people. There are so many people so early in the morning. Did they come here since last night? Sima Yue's lips twitched. There are so many people. Are you really only accepting 100? Fatty Chu looked at the crowded scene and swallowed his saliva. If that's really the case, then this ratio is indeed frightening. Wei Ziqi said. Great pressure. Sima Yue felt that he was a little uncertain. He didn't know if he would be chosen. At this time, they heard people talking beside them. Their originally disappointed hearts were filled with confidence. I heard that someone leaked the news last night, that they're not only taking in 100 people this time. I think so. Those who came early are all spreading the news. Hehe. If that's really the case, then wouldn't our chances of being selected be even greater? Yeah, just thinking about it makes me excited. If it's not 100 people, then how many? I don't know. Who knew what the academy was thinking? Although they would only accept 100 people each time, there were exceptions. The highest number they accepted was 500 people, and the lowest number they accepted was 20 people. Since there are rumors that there are more than 100 people, then the number of people is probably uncertain. Hehe. In short, the more we recruit, the greater our chances. Of course. Sima Yue and the rest looked at each other. If that was the case, they would have a better chance. He just didn't know how the academy would assess him. He remembered that at that time in the Yilin continent, Bei Gong Tang, and the others only had to touch the testing ball when they took the test. He didn't know if this would be any different from the past. Out of the way, out of the way. There was a sudden commotion at the back. Sima Yue and the rest turned around and saw a few people who looked like guards pushing the crowd aside, allowing a luxurious beast carriage to slowly drive over. Seeing the three divine beasts pulling the carriage, Wu Hen, everyone present subconsciously opened up a path for the beast carriage to drive to the front. Wu Hen, also known as Kuan Yin, was a kind of spirit beast with the bloodline of an ancient divine beast. It looked like a cow, but it didn't have the honest nature of a cow. It was cruel, like to kill, and was strong. Now that there was someone using a Wu Hen to pull a carriage, their background was definitely not small. Who is sitting in the beast carriage so ostentatious? Fatty Chu blinked and said, You don't even know this? You'll know when you see the mark on the carriage. This is the Grey Wolf clan of the Northern Desert. Someone at the side saw that Fatty Chu didn't even know this and explained. What kind of clan is the Grey Wolf clan? Sima Yue asked Sima Yue. She used to be from the central regions, so she should know this. The Grey Wolf clan is a big clan in the Northern Desert. Their surname is Grey Wolf, and their clan is huge. They are one of the top clans in the Northern Desert. They are ruthless and like to take revenge. Their methods are cruel, and those who offend them don't have a good ending. I heard that among the younger generation, there's a youth called Song Langli. He's very talented. He's only 50 years old, but he's already advanced to Divine Overlord rank. Sima Yu explained. Thinking about it, the one sitting in the carriage should be Song Langli. This kind of person would come here to study? Fatty Chu didn't understand. For a clan like theirs, they could definitely nurture him better. Why would they let him come here? Although the heavenly sect is only an outer sect, it has an extremely important position in the entire continent. Moreover, it is said that there are many secrets. Being able to walk around here is also a kind of affirmation for them. Bei Gongtang said. When the beast carriage reached the gate of the academy, it stopped moving forward and waited with everyone else. After a while another carriage came, although there were no guards in front shouting this time. When everyone saw the spirit beast pulling the carriage, they consciously opened up a path. They actually used the descendant of the ancient divine beast, Fu Zhu, to pull the carriage. This meant that their status was definitely not lower than the Grey Wolf clan. What kind of spirit beast is that? It looks like a white deer. Sima Yue said. That is Fu Zhu. It is the descendant of the ancient divine beast. Although it looks like a white deer, it is much more ferocious than a white deer. It is extremely fast. Many people want to use it as a means of transportation. However, very few people can find it and tame it to pull the carriage. Sima Yue said. Then which power does this person belong to? If I didn't guess wrongly, it should be someone from Western Liang. Sima Yue said. Looking at the two beast carriages that were parked side by side, she was puzzled. Why are these people gathering at this time to participate in the recruitment? Is there anything strange? Sima Yue asked. Sima Yue nodded and said, although this sect is not bad, it is a little strange to let so many geniuses from the inner regions to participate in the recruitment at the same time. After all, this sect's recruitment period is not long. It happens once every 10 years. For cultivators, 10 years was nothing more than the blink of an eye. There is no need for them to rush here at this time. Maybe it is a coincidence. Fatty Chu said. The sound of the beast carriage came from behind again. Sima Yue looked at the beast carriage that was slowly approaching and narrowed her eyes. Was this really a coincidence? They waited for a while. During this time, many beast carriages came, and they all went to the front to wait. No one dared to be rash. Looking at the crowd that was retreating, Sima Yue sighed in her heart. What was the use of coming early? They still had to give way when they met someone powerful. Just as the sun was hanging in the sky, the sect gate slowly opened. An old man with white hair and a white beard wearing a white robe slowly walked out from inside. Chapter 539. There was a group of people behind the old man. They were not surprised to see the people waiting outside. There are more people this year than in previous years. One of the mentors said, I wonder how many people will pass the assessment. There are quite a few geniuses this year. I don't think they will disappoint us. Another mentor said, these geniuses, how many of them are here to learn with sincerity? A black-clothed instructor said with a straight face. All right, let's not talk about it anymore. Let's prepare for this year's test. The old man said. As soon as he spoke, no one else dared to say anything. One of them walked up to the high platform in front of the academy and waved his hand. Everyone present quieted down. Welcome everyone to the Heavenly Sect's enrollment this year. The teacher's voice wasn't loud, but it spread to every corner. But that doesn't mean that you'll be members of my academy just because you're here today. If you want to join the academy, you must pass our test. Only after passing the test can you become a student of the academy. After he finished speaking, he paused for a moment, looked around at everyone present, and said, I just made a visual estimate. There are at least 50,000 people here this time. But you all know the academy's rules. They only accept a fixed number of people. Whether or not you can enter this quota will depend on your own ability. The people below began to whisper to each other. Many of them were worried about whether they would be able to enter the quota. Quiet. He waited for everyone to quiet down before continuing. The assessment this time is divided into 3 stages. Only after passing all 3 stages can you be considered to have passed our assessment. Now you can go to the first stage. After saying that, everyone saw a silver light shining under their feet. Before they could figure out what the first test was, they disappeared. Sima Yue felt dizzy. When she regained her balance, she was alone in the desert. She looked around, but there was no one around. The scorching sun above her head was scorching the earth, causing the sand to become boiling hot. The whole environment was like a huge steamer. Illusion? She thought about it carefully. Apart from this, she could not find any other explanation for the sudden change. I don't know if this is an illusion created by an illusory array, or some other spirit artifact. But it's so realistic. It really makes me feel hot. Sweat flowed down her bun. She wanted to take out a handkerchief from her spatial ring to wipe it off, but she found that she couldn't communicate with her spatial ring. When she realized this, her heart shook. She sensed the spirit pagoda, and found that it couldn't be opened. However, she did not panic. She closed her eyes and cleared her mind. Then, with a thought, a spirit fruit appeared in her hand. She looked at the fresh fruit in her hand and smiled happily. An illusion array is an illusion array. It doesn't exist at all. It wasn't that this space couldn't be connected to the spatial ring, but the illusion array made people think so. Subjectively, people thought that it couldn't be connected. However, objectively speaking, as long as one emptied one's mind and did not think that one was in an illusion, one would be able to take out the items in the spatial ring. If those people thought that they couldn't communicate with their spatial rings, they would definitely panic. Then, passing the test in such an environment would indeed be more difficult. Could it be that the test this time is to walk out of this desert? As she ate the spirit fruit, the uncomfortable feeling in her body subsided. Only then did she calm down and think about the content of the assessment. This desert is boundless. It shouldn't be this. Thinking about it again, if it wasn't to walk out, then it should be to see how long one could last here. Those who couldn't meet the requirements would be eliminated. After thinking about it, this was the most reasonable. Since she wasn't in a hurry to find a way out, then she wasn't in a hurry. She stayed in place without moving. She even took out a tent and sat in the tent to meditate and cultivate. At this time, in a room in the Sky Heaven School, a group of teachers surrounded a huge crystal ball and looked at the situation of the examinees. Yo, someone saw through the truth so quickly this time. A flirtatious woman wearing tight red clothes saw the situation in the crystal ball and lowered her head to continue polishing her nails. This reaction is a bit too fast. The other teachers were also curious. The people who went in before didn't react as quickly as him. And looking at him, he should have guessed what the test is about. From the moment she made contact with the spatial ring, the people in the room had already noticed her. To be able to react in half an hour was unprecedented, especially when they saw her setting up a tent and taking out spirit fruits to eat one after another. Then she leisurely meditated. Everyone in the room had a strange expression. This brat passed this test too easily. That's right, in their eyes, being able to make contact with the spatial ring was already half of the test. This was because most people would store water in their spatial ring. As long as there was water, they would be able to survive here. Then the condition of staying here for 10 days was not difficult for her. He's an array master. The old man from before opened his eyes and looked at the crystal ball and said with certainty, to be able to react so quickly, his array skills shouldn't be low. Is he really less than 100 years old? The glazed mirage can only be entered by people under 100 years old. Since he can enter, he must be under 100 years old. He should only be in his 20s. The white-clothed old man said. 20s. The other teachers in the room exclaimed softly. How could someone in their 20s have such high array skills? But if the vice principal said so, then it should be so. 20s, this talent is simply heaven-defying. The teachers came back to their senses and looked at Sima Yue with a burning gaze. This was a prodigy among prodigies. At this moment, Sima Yue suddenly felt like she was being watched by many people. She opened her eyes and looked around. After confirming that there was no one around, she stopped cultivating with a puzzled gaze. What a sharp little fellow. The vice principal saw Sima Yue's alertness and nodded his head in satisfaction. They were just looking at her, but she actually felt it. This was not something an ordinary person could have. Since that's the case, let's send her to the next stage of the test earlier. One of the teachers said. I agree. The first stage of the test is already useless. She can go to the next stage earlier. The vice principal's eyes flashed. He nodded his head and stroked his long beard, saying, "Then let's send her to the second stage of the test. Oh, we'll send 5 for the first time. I wonder how this little fellow will react, hee." Ever since Sima Yue felt that someone was watching her, she stopped cultivating. However, she did not know how long she would have to stay here. She wanted to find something to do, so she took out some erase stones and fiddled with them. Sha sha, sha sha. Hearing the soft sounds from the desert, her lips curled into a faint smile. Chapter 540. Rustle. Rustle. The sound from the yellow sand did not make Sima Yue panic. She just sat in the tent and looked outside leisurely. Kacha. The sound of pincers opening and closing could be heard. Then one by one, large red pincers emerged from the yellow sand, followed by a 1 to 2 foot long red scorpion. Kacha. Kacha. 5 red scorpions surrounded Sima Yue and her tent in the middle, each of their eyes shining with hunger. Such large scorpions. I don't know if they're real or just illusions. It would be great if they're real. Sima Yue touched her chin and pondered while looking at the red scorpions. Seeing that Sima Yue seemed to have ideas about them, the red scorpions were furious. One of them waved its large pincers, and the other 4 immediately attacked her. Sima Yue did not hesitate as she condensed a fireball and threw it at the red scorpions. Poochie! The fireball hit the red scorpions, but it only made their movements pause for a moment. It did not cause any substantial damage to them. Immune to fire? Sima Yue looked at the red scorpions in astonishment as she dodged the poison they spat out. Because a few of them were attacking her at the same time, she was careless and her clothes were swept by the poison. Immediately, a large hole was corroded. Damn, it hurts. The hem of the shirt brushed against her leg, and a burning pain spread all over her body. What a poisonous liquid! If this was real, it would be best to use it to refine the poison. Thinking of this, her eyes lit up. She leaped and quickly jumped out of the red scorpion's heads and went outside. Since you're immune to fire, try something else. She formed a seal with her hands, and a metal whip quickly appeared in front of her. She grabbed the whip and quickly swung it at the red scorpions. If she guessed correctly, these red scorpions should have lived under the desert and were exposed to high temperatures all year round, so they gradually became immune to fire. Fire and metal were the 2 attributes with the most attacking power. Since the fire attribute was useless, she would choose the metal attribute. Pa! The whip hit a red scorpion, and the barbs on the whip directly pierced through its shell and into its flesh. She withdrew her whip, and blood flowed out from its body. Chi! A scorpion ambushed her and spat venom at her. She quickly dodged to the side. The venom landed on the yellow sand and emitted a corrosive smell. They're bullying us with numbers. She snorted and brandished her whip. In an instant, it coiled around a red scorpion. Then, with a forceful swing, that scorpion was flung far away by her. She rolled and flung again. Within a few breaths, the 3 scorpions were flung away by her, preventing them from coming back to attack her. Afterwards, she continued to deal with the remaining 2 red scorpions. Every time the whip landed on their bodies, they would feel excruciating pain. One of the weaker ones was whipped to death by her. The other one was a little stronger. She used the whip to trap it, then formed a seal with both hands. A long sword was formed, and then fiercely pierced towards the red scorpion, directly piercing through its head and into its tail. The red scorpion struggled on the ground for a bit before dying. At this time, the other 3 crawled back. Seeing that their comrade had died, the 3 red scorpions went crazy and attacked her together. This time, other than their venom, they also attacked with their spiritual energy. Sima Yue formed a protective layer around her body. Then she concentrated on forming seals. Small swords were formed one by one, and under her control, they flew towards the red scorpions. Clang! The red scorpions waved their claws to knock the small swords away, or spat out venom to corrode the small swords. However, Sima Yue did not hold back this time. In an instant, she created dozens of small swords. Although some were knocked away, there were still many that pierced the red scorpions. Those 3 red scorpions lost their ability to move. After 2 more stabs from her, they fell to the yellow sand and stopped moving. The mentors outside the crystal ball saw her performance and nodded in satisfaction. Her fighting strength is not bad. Usually, people of this age would be more flustered when they were surrounded. Once they panicked, their fighting strength would drop, and it was very likely that they would be injured by the red scorpions. Although this glazed illusion would not kill anyone under their control, the pain within was still self-evident. And from the very beginning, she wanted to scatter her opponents and defeat them one by one. That thought was admirable. Seeing Sima Yue pick up a red scorpion and close her eyes to empty her mind, one of the mentors asked, "What is she planning to do?" "She probably wants to see if these red scorpions are real," someone guessed. Sure enough, when Sima Yue opened her eyes again, she saw that the red scorpions were still there. She was extremely happy and carried the 5 red scorpions' corpses back into the tent. Sima Yue placed the 5 red scorpions side by side on the ground. Squatting beside one of them, she pried open the shell on its tail and checked its poison gland. What a good thing! Thinking about the poison that continuously attacked her just now, she was extremely curious. Taking out a pair of scissors, she cut off the poison gland. Once this thing is refined, it will definitely be a good thing for poison people. I really didn't expect that the spirit beasts here are actually real. She took out a pill furnace and threw the snipped poison gland inside. Then she heated it up and refined it. Soon, the poison in the poison gland was completely refined by her. Next was the second one, the third one. She's an alchemist. The alchemy mentor said in astonishment when he saw Sima Yue's proficient movements. She's an alchemist? That's right. Look at her technique. It's indeed the technique of refining medicinal ingredients. The alchemy mentor said. And this technique should be a lost technique. Looking at her, her alchemy level shouldn't be low. Old Moo, what level do you think her alchemy is? It shouldn't be lower than level 5. Old Moo, who was the alchemy mentor, said. Around 20 years old, level 5. Her talent should be considered not bad, but not particularly outstanding. Old Moo glanced at that person and said, Don't forget, other than being an alchemist, she's also an array master. Moreover, her array skills are so high. She's both an array master and an alchemist. Looks like our academy has a good seedling this time, the vice principal said with a smile. Some of the other people's performance is also not bad. Song Langli and Ryu and the others also quickly reacted. It's just that they haven't discovered the essence of this illusion, so they haven't connected with their spatial rings yet. Where did these people come from? Someone actually managed to connect with their spatial rings. That old man closed his eyes and thought for a while. The scene from before appeared in his mind. After a while, he opened his eyes and said, These people were standing with that little guy before. It seems like they're together. Oh, where did this group of people come from? They're actually not bad. Could it be that they're from some big family? We'll find out when we investigate later. Let's continue watching. Oh right, send some spirit beasts to play with that little guy. The vice principal instructed. Chapter 541. Just for fun. Hearing the vice principal's words, all the mentors felt sorry for Sima Yue. She had caught the vice principal's attention. Dance Rua starter. But such students would often lead a more miserable life, because this vice principal liked to play. Even though his fighting prowess would increase by leaps and bounds while having fun. The process, Sima Yue had just finished extracting the red scorpion's poison reading ability, when she felt something approaching her. This time, it was even more ferocious. 10 red scorpions came directly, and their strength was even higher than before. This time, she didn't dare to fight alone. She called Little Peng to fight with her. Against this kind of spirit beast, Little Rock was the most suitable. Golden-winged Great Rock. Everyone in the house cried out when they saw Little Rock. Looks like we know who this person is. The contractor of the Golden-winged Rock. I didn't expect him to be so young. The red lips of the teacher in the red dress parted slightly. After the shock in her eyes, there was a strong interest. I've always heard that a golden-winged great rock has appeared in the rock world. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, its aura is indeed extraordinary. This little fellow, not only is his talent not bad, he even has such a contracted beast. This kid is extraordinary. Vice Principal, I think we can directly recruit her. We can't miss out on such a talented person. I agree. What's the hurry? The Vice Principal leaned back in his soft chair. If she's really talented, she'll be able to pass the next 2 tests. If she really enters the school, do we need to notify the inner courtyard? Someone asked. Let's talk about it later, the Vice Principal said and closed his eyes again. The second batch of red scorpions were all killed. Sima Yue realized that this time was different from before. Among the 10 red scorpions, only 5 were real, and the other 5 were just illusions. F*CK, are you kidding me? Sima Yue cursed, but she still took the 5 real red scorpions and refined them. After an unknown amount of time, more spirit beasts approached. This time, it was not a red scorpion, but a bunch of pythons. These pythons were all torn in half by Sima Yue and Little Rock. I wonder how the pythons in the desert taste. Sima Yue said, and took out some water to clean the python. Then, she took out some pots and pans and started to make snake soup. In addition, he took out a barbecue rack and roasted a piece of meat. Smelling the fragrance of the snake meat, she leisurely hummed a little tune, completely unaware that her every move was clearly seen by the teacher outside. She's so carefree. The teachers laughed and scolded her when they saw that she was in such a leisurely mood. Although the python grew in the desert, its meat was tender and delicious. With her cooking skills, the snake soup and roasted snake meat tasted delicious. Carrying all these cooking utensils with him, this kid must be a foodie. Sima Yue was leisurely enjoying her food. Suddenly, she frowned and stuffed the barbecued meat into her mouth. Is there an end to this? As soon as she finished speaking, monsters made of yellow sand appeared one after another. Suddenly they rose from the ground, each of them a few meters tall. Their mouths and eyes were empty, and yellow sand kept falling from their bodies. At first glance, it was obvious that they were not normal spirit beasts. Holy **T, what kind of spiritual beast is this? Sima Yue smelled a peculiar aura when she saw the spiritual beast. These spirit beasts were so strange. She could feel violence and killing intent from these spirit beasts, as if they were brainless creatures. Their empty eyes looked at her, as if they were looking at a dead person. A dead person? She wondered who would be dead. When the teachers outside saw the spirit beasts, they exclaimed, "Who released the yellow sand beasts?" "Not us." The 2 teachers in charge of this area shook their heads. They had only released a few spirit beasts to tease Sima Yue. No one had released the yellow sand beasts. Oh no, the glazed illusion is out of control. The girl in red stood up and slammed the table. What's going on? It seems that someone has cut off our connection with the glazed illusion. Someone must have done something inside. The spirit beasts inside are also out of control. The Vice Principal's face was no longer as relaxed as before. He stood up, reached out his hand, and the huge crystal ball appeared in front of him. He pressed both hands on the crystal ball and injected spiritual energy into it, attempting to control the glazed illusion again. The teachers in the room looked at him nervously. They didn't dare to make a sound for fear of disturbing him. After a while, the Vice Principal opened his eyes. With a shake of his hands, the crystal ball returned to its original position. The glazed illusion has been connected, but we can only control the remaining spirit beasts. We can't control the ones that came out before. The teacher said, "Look at the situation inside. Get those who are on the verge of death out. As for the rest, just treat it as a test." The Vice Principal sat down. "Send someone to investigate who dares to tamper with the enrollment of the heavenly sect." "Yes, Vice Principal." The 2 of them left the room. The people in the glazed illusion didn't know about the dangerous situation just now. When they saw the spirit beasts, they thought it was the Academy's assessment. They didn't think that someone had set them up and almost made them unable to come out. During this period of time, nearly 1,000 people had died an unnatural death. The Academy quietly took out their corpses. The teachers didn't dare to be careless. They paid full attention to the situation inside. Once someone was about to die, they would get them out. Chapter 542. Chongming, sorry to trouble you. Chongming nodded. He formed a seal with both hands and waved them, isolating all the yellow sand beasts. Those yellow sand beasts did not breathe to begin with, so even after being isolated, they did not immediately die. However, due to the restriction of space, he was unable to move at all. Sima Yue watched as Chongming imprisoned them, but did not kill them. He sat down on the ground and panted heavily. These spirit beasts have no life and will never die. It's useless to imprison them like this. We have to think of a way, Sai. Chongming also needed spiritual power to support them, so it was impossible to imprison them forever. He had to think of a way to solve it. She sat on the ground and thought for a long time. She reached out to grab the hot yellow sand and said, "These are all monsters formed by the yellow sand. They will either destroy the world, or destroy the yellow sand. But there's too much yellow sand, and it's impossible to destroy it. So, we can only destroy this world." Everyone in the room couldn't help but raise their eyebrows when they heard her words. What was this little guy trying to do? If this heaven and earth were to be destroyed, then wouldn't the academy suffer a great loss? Everyone turned to look at the vice president. That fellow calmly waved his hand and said, "It's fine. She's not that capable." The glazed illusion was now under the control of the vice principal. If he said it was fine, then it was fine. As expected, Sima Yue paused for a moment after saying those words, then said, "This world cannot be destroyed. The things in the academy are definitely not that weak. Don't tell me there's no other way?" "Master, wouldn't it be gone if we moved the yellow sand away?" Yaguang said. "Move away." Sima Yue's eyes lit up. She stood up and dusted off the yellow sand on her hands. "That's right. Even if we can't kill them, we can still take them away. Good job, Yaguang. Actually, if these yellow sand beasts were brought into the spirit pagoda, they could be dealt with immediately." However, she wasn't sure if the people from the academy could see the situation here. If they could, then the matter of the spirit pagoda would be exposed. She took out an array stone and set up an array around the yellow sand beasts. "Master, where are you taking these yellow sand beasts?" Yaguang saw that Sima Yue was able to set up an array in such a short period of time. He thought that it must not be a good place. Otherwise, it would take her a long time to calculate the coordinates. Sima Yue patted Yaguang's head and said, "Send them to a good place. Chongming, the moment I activate the array formation, you can break the space imprisonment." "Okay." Chongming nodded. Sima Yue picked up the last formation stone, injected her spiritual power into it, and placed it on one of the corners of the pentagram. The formation was activated, and the silver light flowed along the lines of the pentagram, before flowing into the other complicated lines. Chongming release. As soon as Sima Yue spoke, Chongming released the space shackles. The moment the yellow sand beasts pounced on her, they all disappeared. The light disappeared, and the desert became quiet again. "Master is so powerful." Yaguang jumped and said, "Master, since there are no more enemies, I'll go back first. My fur is about to be burnt." Sima Yue thought about the high temperature of the yellow sand. Even if Yaguang's skin was thick, it would be uncomfortable to step on, so she kept him back. "Yu, where did you send them?" Little Rock transformed into his mimicry form and landed on Chongming's shoulder as he asked. If the place they were sent to happened to have someone, then the other party would be in trouble. How could I harm others? Even if I don't know them, and they have nothing to do with me? What if they were sent to my brother's side? Sima Yue said, "I sent them to the void." Chongming was not too surprised by this answer. This was quite her style. "What do you plan to do next? Or do you want to stay here?" Sima Yue had not finished speaking when she felt movement in her space ring. She took out a piece of jade and saw 2 small dots on it, saying, "We're not going to wait here. Yulin is not far from us. Let's go find him." Chongming transformed into her original form and flew in a direction with Sima Yue and Little Rock. She lowered her head and looked at the jade. It showed that they were quite far away. Fortunately, the other party seemed to have noticed her approach and rushed in her direction. However, their speed was obviously much slower, as if they were being held back by something. "Chongming, hurry up. They seem to have met with trouble. Sima Yue said anxiously. All right. Chongming flapped her wings and increased her speed. In the room, the teachers watched as Chongming flew in the air with Sima Yue. They were already numb to the shock she gave them. 3 contracted beasts, and they're all sacred beasts. Aren't they afraid of being devoured? Since she can become an alchemist and array master, her divine sense is naturally extraordinary. It's normal for her to be able to contract a few sacred beasts at the same time. She was able to set up a teleportation array in such a short time. She even thought of sending the yellow sand beasts into the void. It's really rare. Those yellow sand beasts will become a handful of yellow sand once they go into the void. What are you chatting about? Pay attention to the situation in the illusion. If anyone dies again, I'll stuff you all in. The vice principal said as he shook his beard. Although they knew that the vice principal was joking, everyone still stopped joking and paid attention to the situation in the illusion. There was no night or sunrise. Sima Yue didn't know how long she had been flying before she finally saw Sima Yulin and the others. What surprised her was that Sima Yuqi and the other 3 brothers, Wei Ziqi and the other 3, Sima Yulin and Little Two were all together. They were fighting a group of yellow sand beasts. Was she the only one who had been left far behind? It would be great if we could fix them in place, then use a teleportation array to send them away. Otherwise, they won't die or be injured. Our spirit energy will be exhausted. Sima Yulin said when he saw that the yellow sand beasts' heads had grown back after being chopped off. Everyone was already exhausted. But we have no way to fix them in place. Fatty Chu blew up a yellow sand beast with a punch and watched them turn into a pile of yellow sand. Then, in a very short period of time, they condensed together again. You guys hold them back. I'll set up a teleportation array over there and lure them over. Sima Yulin said. Will this method work? Whether it works or not, we can only try. You guys. All the yellow sand beasts froze in place. They were in all kinds of positions. It was as if time had stopped. This. Bei Gong Tang looked at the frozen yellow sand beasts and subconsciously looked behind her. She saw a familiar figure. Sima Yue sat on Chongming and looked at everyone who was stunned. She said, Yulin, didn't you say you were going to set up a teleportation array? Why aren't you doing it? Chongming won't be able to hold on for long with so many beasts. Chapter 543. Everyone was excited to see Sima Yue, especially when she came to stop the yellow sand beasts that had exhausted them, giving them a chance to catch their breath. It had to be said that she came at the right time. Sima Yue let the Chongming fly in the air. She estimated the number of stones and the distance between each of them. She took out a pile of array stones and threw them in all directions. When the last one was left, she let the Chongming land. She injected her spiritual power into it and threw it into the ground. Seeing that the array was starting to activate, Sima Yue and the others who were still at the edge of the array hurriedly ran away. If they were teleported away together, who knew where they would end up? Chongming. Sima Yue waited for the formation to activate and shouted. Chongming immediately activated the space imprisonment. Before the yellow sand beasts could react, they were all transported away. Yu is still the best. Wei Ziqi saw that the yellow sand beasts were really gone and sat down on the ground. That's right, these things have been pestering us for a long time. Even when we rode on flying beasts, we were unable to shake them off. Fatty Chu said, Yue, how did you know we were here? I'm looking at Jade. Sima Yue said in surprise. Aren't you walking in my direction? Don't you know? Everyone looked at Sima Yulin. He shrugged his shoulders, saying, I was so shaken by the yellow sand beast that I didn't even have the strength to fight back. How would I have the energy to look at the jade? Sima Yue was speechless. It turned out that they were running in this direction and did not know that she was approaching them. Fortunately, they were heading in the right direction. If they had fled in the opposite direction, it would have taken him a long time to find them. By the way, why are you all together? Did you come in together? No. Sima Yue shook his head, saying, in the beginning, we were separated as well. However, we weren't too far apart from each other, so we slowly gathered together. We were just talking about how you're the only one missing. But we all know what you're capable of, so we're not that worried. If it was anyone else who was alone, they might have gone to look for them. But thinking that it was her, they didn't even look for her. Sima Yue looked at her brother with resentment. Finally she said, "You all recover your spiritual energy first." She saw that everyone had taken out pills from their interspatial rings, and knew that they had discovered the essence of the illusion to recover. So she stood guard for them. While everyone was resting, she looked at the boundless desert. She wondered when the assessment would end. Bei Gongtang was the first to recover. Seeing Sima Yu sitting on the sand dune, she walked over and said, "What did you go through by yourself?" Sima Yu told her about the few times she had met spirit beasts, and Bei Gongtang was rather surprised. "And you what to Sima? You didn't encounter it?" "We've also encountered it, but it's only been 2 days. We haven't encountered it before," Bei Gongtang said. "Furthermore, we haven't encountered any spirit beasts before we met up." Am I the only one who encountered it?" Sima Yu rubbed her nose. "That's possible." Sima Yu was speechless. "Is it because my luck is too bad? Or is it because someone is controlling this place and doesn't like me, so they threw some spirit beasts to deal with me?" The instructors in the room looked down, and no one said a word. This was the vice principal's order. It had nothing to do with us. "Don't blame us if you don't choose our academy." Sima Yu had no idea what the teachers were thinking. She also didn't know that the spirit beasts were arranged by someone. She was still thinking about when the first round of the exam would be over. "Yue, I feel that these spirit beasts are a little strange," Bei Gongtang said. "How so?" "It feels like they suddenly appeared. It's like they were locked in a cage before, and then suddenly ran out uncontrollably." Bei Gongtang said what she felt. "This is the first round of the academy's exam. Although I don't know where it is, it should be under the control of the academy. There shouldn't be any accidents." Sima Yu said, "What you said is possible, but we have no way to prove it." "You're right." Bei Gongtang nodded and didn't think about it anymore. After that, everyone woke up one by one. Their injuries were healed, and their spirit energy was restored. They looked very energetic. "Brother, where are we going now?" Little Two came to Sima Yu's side and asked. Sima Yu looked at everyone and said, "This desert is boundless. It doesn't matter where we go." Brother Yulin and Brother Yuran said before that the exam this time should be to test how long we can stay here. So it doesn't matter where we go. That's why we didn't run around aimlessly like the others. Sima Yu knew that with Sima Yulin and third brother's intelligence, they should be able to guess what the exam was about. Since everyone thought the same, the possibility of it happening was much higher. "Then let's wait," Sima Yu said. "The last time I killed a few spirit snakes, they tasted pretty good. Let's eat them in a while. This spirit snake meat is pretty good for increasing spirit energy." Okay. Sima Yu took out a few spirit snake corpses. With the safety of the interspatial ring, these spirit snakes were pretty much the same as when they had just died. The blood had not even solidified yet, and was still fresh. She handed the spirit snake corpses to Fatty Chu and the others to clean up. After they were done, everyone started to cook. When they found out that these were the spirit beasts that Sima Yu had encountered before, everyone laughed at her for her bad character. Otherwise, why would she be the only one who encountered it when no one else encountered it? Sima Yu had been criticized too much. Could it be that she had done something immoral recently that caused her character to drop? Compared to them who were happily eating, the other examinees were much more unlucky. Without the interspatial spirit beasts, they had no way of getting rid of those yellow sand beasts. They also had no way of escaping from their pursuers. In the end, they were killed until they were completely exhausted before they were thrown out, losing the right to continue the exam. Those who were lucky did not encounter any yellow sand beasts. However, because they did not understand the essence of the illusion, they did not eat or drink for the past few days. Furthermore, they were in such a harsh environment. They were exhausted. In the end, they could not take it anymore and were thrown out. There were also some who did not encounter any yellow sand beasts, but encountered other spirit beasts. Although they killed the spirit beasts in the end, they were heavily injured. However, they were still able to hold on and were not thrown out. After an unknown amount of time, Sima Yue and the others had not even finished eating their snake meat when they heard a low roar approaching them. "It's a yellow sand beast." Sima Yu ran and the others' expressions changed. They were very familiar with the sound that had been chasing them for a few days. Someone must have been chased by a yellow sand beast and is running towards us. Chapter 544. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound and saw a sky full of yellow sand. It had an aura that seemed like it was going to devour the entire world. In front of the yellow sand, a group of black dots was moving quickly. If they saw such a scene on any other day, they would definitely say that it was beautiful. However, no one could say anything today. They could only subconsciously swallow their saliva. My goodness, why are these yellow sand beasts bigger than the others? Sima Yue looked at Chongming. He nodded at her and she finally relaxed. The speed of both parties was very fast, and it didn't take long for them to see the figures of the people flying in front of them. "They're all divine overlords," Bei Gongtang said. When those people saw Sima Yue, they shouted, "Run! Don't just stand there, run!" Seeing that they didn't move, those people became anxious. A woman shouted, "Are you stupid? Hurry up and run!" Behind them was a row of yellow sand beasts. They could only move forward and could not change direction. They could only watch as they and the yellow sand beasts got closer and closer to the group. They were so close that they could see each other's faces clearly. One of the men in blue saw that Sima Yue and the others had not moved and thought that they were too scared to react. He cursed in his heart, but he still stopped and turned to face the group of yellow sand beasts. "You guys go first, I'll hold them back." "Don't be silly. How can you deal with them alone?" The woman from before roared at the blue-clothed man. "There's nothing we can do about it. Drag it out for as long as you can. Hurry up and leave." The blue-clothed man roared. "I'll stay with you. Everyone else, hurry up and leave." The woman shouted at the others, turned around and flew back, fighting side by side with the blue-clothed man. The others hesitated for a moment before flying back. "Why did you come back? How could we leave you behind?" "You." The blue-clothed man was hit by the yellow sand beast and rolled a few times on the ground, landing at the feet of a yellow sand beast. Tuobahan! Everyone was scared silly by this turn of events. If the yellow sand beast raised its foot, he would definitely be dead. Tuobahan! No. Everyone attacked the yellow sand beast in an attempt to save it, but their attacks were useless against it. Instead, they were sent flying by the other yellow sand beasts. Tuobahan was hit in the waist, and the heart-wrenching pain made it impossible for him to stand up. He raised his head and saw the huge foot of the yellow sand beast, and his eyes flashed with unwillingness. Was he going to die here? The giant foot was getting closer and closer to him, and his pupils were gradually filled with yellow sand. He wanted to close his eyes and wait for death, but he found that the foot of the yellow sand beast had stopped less than a foot away from him. Then he heard a pleasant voice. Only then did he realize that he had been saved. There are too many yellow sand beasts and too much space. Chongming won't be able to hold on for long. Yulin, you and I will set up the array. The others will help these people to a safe place. Quick! After Sima Yu finished her instructions, she jumped onto Chongming's back. Sima Yu also called out his own flying beast and flew into the air, setting up a teleportation array with Sima Yu. Wei Ziqi and the others were not slow either. They quickly ran over and helped all the injured people up, and quickly left Sima Yu's area of effect. Until they were far away from the yellow sand beasts, these people still did not realize how quickly the situation had changed. But they knew that they had been saved when they saw the two throwing the array stones in the air. It was the first time they knew that an array could be set up like this. Tuobahan was the most seriously injured, and the others gave him pills before eating them themselves. They originally wanted to ask about the situation, but when they saw Wei Ziqi and the others looking at the two in the air, they tactfully shut their mouths. After setting up the array, Sima Yu and Sima Yulin returned to the ground and activated the array. Roar! The yellow sand beasts roared the moment they regained their freedom. But before they could move, the array sent them into the void. Huff! Sima Yu let out a long breath of turbid air and walked over. I am Tuoba Yin Air. Thank you for saving me. If it were not for you, we would have died today. The girl cupped her hands towards Sima Yu. Sima Yu. Sima Yu replied. Even without us, I think the sect would not leave you in the lurch. Death is not so easy. She was willing to save them, because she saw that the other party had no intention of dragging them down. Coming here was an unintentional act. Seeing that they were here, the other party actually went back to resist and stall for time. This showed that they were not bad people. Secondly, she saw that they had a close relationship with each other, which was very similar to her own team. So she wanted to help. Anyway, if they died, those yellow sand beasts would still come to deal with her. So she might as well do them a favor. Both parties got to know each other. The blue-clothed man was Tuoba Han. Other than Tuoba Yin Air, the other three were Feng Wuhen, Wang Kai and Mu Lin. Hearing Feng Wuhen's self-introduction, Sima Yu looked at him discreetly. She did not know if he and Feng Jixing were from the same family. Tuoba family, is it the Eastern Ridge's Tuoba family? She looked at Tuoba Han and Tuoba Yin Air and asked. Yes, you know about the inner regions? Perhaps it was because she was grateful that they saved her life. Tuoba Yin Air did not hide her identity. Eastern Ridge's Tuoba family, Northern Desert's Tsang Lang family, Western Liang's Mo family, Southern Desolation's Hong family. The four great families are so famous, it's normal that we know about them. Sima Yu said. The four great families were strong, and were not inferior to those halls and valleys. She had thought more than once about how many years it would take for such a big family to grow so strong. Later on, she found out that the four great clans were not considered the largest clans. In unknown places, there were clans that had been passed down from ancient times. These clans had even more honorable statuses on the continent. However, they did not often roam the world, so they were called the hidden clans. I heard that Western Liang and Northern Desert sent geniuses, and now Eastern Ridge sent people. I didn't think that the sect would attract so many geniuses this time, Sima Yulin said. Although the heavenly sect is in the outer regions, its reputation is not small in the inner regions. We also came because of its reputation. Tuoba Yin Air explained. Sima Yu and the others did not completely believe her, but they did not say anything. The geniuses from all over the place came to the sect, but it had nothing to do with them. His injuries are quite serious. It's best to let me take a look at him, Sima Yu said to Tuoba Han. Since Tuoba Han was as famous as Tsang Langli, it was not a bad thing to form a good relationship with him. You know medicine? Feng Wuhen looked at Sima Yu with surprise. A little, Sima Yu said. Then I'll have to trouble young Master Yu, Tuoba Han said. Sima Yu stretched out her hand to take Tuoba Han's pulse. She felt the situation in his body and looked at him suspiciously. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.